Hello and welcome to the Big League Show. As always, I'm Connor Somerville, joined by Aiden Silliphant, and today is Remembrance Day. It is November 11th, the anniversary of the end of World War I, and we are joined by Mr. Emile Riga. Emile and Aiden, how are you two doing today?
Aiden, go ahead.
Hey, I'm doing good. Hey, the guest always should go first, so I'm doing okay. But you're the important one today, Emile, so how are you doing?
I hate the whole interruption online virtual thing, but I'm doing very well, thank you.
Yeah, we'd rather be in studio.
Yeah, it is unfortunate, but hey, we're making it work, and it's fun. But obviously today is Remembrance Day, so I figured we should start off by recognizing all the sacrifices that veterans and the military and soldiers and Air Forcemen and women, Navy, all of them make for this country and for peace. I don't know if either of you have any experiences with military, whether it be a family member or something who were in the military. But do you have anything you sort of want to add?
My grandfather was in the Italian military, but I don't have any interesting stories about that. I think he just served for a couple of years. So myself, I don't really have too much of a personal connection, but
yeah, I have to relate with Emile there. Not too much personal connection with my family, but yeah, big respect, and it's a day to reflect and remember all of those and all the lives that were lost. So definitely a day of reflection, and it's a special day.
100%. I don't know if either of you have ever visited Sunnybrook Hospital, the Veteran Center, but there are some really, really crazy stories there with the people who live there, and figured it's important to honor because I'm a World War II history guy, and I watch way too many YouTube videos about it. So this entire Remembrance Day is interesting to me as I examine more of the lives and the stories of people who have fought and who have given a lot in order to have peace in Canada and our freedom. But let's do a hard transition and let's talk about... Oops, sorry?
No, hard transition. Let's go.
Oh, all right. Hard transition to Emile and his entire... Well, not his entire life, because we don't get into the intricacies of it, but his entire sport media life. And Emile, I don't know if you're aware, but we start off with the same question every single week, which we ask every single one of our guests, and they all struggle with it, which is fun to watch them squirm. But that question is, what is your first memory of sports, and what is your first memory of sport media?
I think my first memory of sports is a little bit easier. My first sport media memory, I'll try to think of it, but my first memory of sports is watching the 2006 World Cup. I am Italian. I'm half Italian, so my Italian side, who I live very closely to, that was a huge moment when Italy won the World Cup. I remember the final very vividly. I also live in Vaughan, which is the most Italian part of Canada, basically. So the streets were crazy, and that was sort of my first preview into how impactful sports can be. I'm on the street and there's hundreds of people honking and everything like that. It's wow, sports did this. So that was pretty powerful, I guess. And my first sport media moment, I guess we'll get into it later, how I really wasn't into it very much until sort of end of high school, but I guess
It's a tricky one. We put you on the spot there.
Aiden, what was your first sport media moment?
Well, honestly, I haven't been asked that question, but for sport media, I would say, just the generic watching Jay and Dan, Sports Center,
so
Sportsnet. That counts. I also, for me, I would say I actually got the chance to go on CTV News for Take Your Kid to Work Day in grade 9. Yes. That's not sport media, but that is, I guess, my first media moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, I wasn't a big Jay and Dan person or TSN person growing up. I was always on Sportsnet for some reason. So I was a big Tim and Sid fan. So I guess listening to Tim and Sid on the radio first before they were on TV was my first like sport media connection I formed.
Okay. Yeah, and then that's cool because the three of us actually got the chance to go to the set in grade 9 as well.
Yes, not grade 9.
Oh, sorry, first year of university. My bad.
Yes, same thing.
Either of you were in grade 9.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, which I guess we'll dive into that in a little bit. But you mentioned your beginning early life in terms of sport media and how you weren't really into it to begin with, I guess, when you were younger. So how did you sort of discover that you wanted to go into sport media, and how did you sort of hear about the sport media program at Ryerson?
Yeah, so touching on the fact that I wasn't really into it early on, I was always super into sports, but I was always into playing them, not as much consuming them, I guess. I was a huge soccer guy growing up. I always loved playing soccer, and I was all over the place with other sports. I was really big into tennis. And then in high school, I was on the volleyball team, frisbee, swimming, badminton, like a lot of things. So I was really, I loved sports. I always loved playing them, being active. However, in grade 11, I was very seriously into soccer my whole life. And in grade 11, I had torn a bunch of ligaments in my knee. So I was out for about 6 to 7 months. And in those 6 to 7 months in grade 11, I guess that break of not, having 5 practices a week and all that stuff, my life just got better. My social skills got better. My grades got better. My mental health got better. And I started kind of diving into other hobbies and sort of trying to figure out what I'm going to do after high school. So I guess that's when I had always been quite confident in English. I went to a full French school, but my English was always, I guess, pretty good. And my English teacher, who I owe almost everything I have in my, I guess, early sport media career to her, just because she gave me the confidence to pursue whether that be journalism or any media English type thing. So I guess the green light that it gave me was just my English teacher giving me the confidence to pursue it and not just say, oh yeah, I'm decent in English. It was really something that I could take, because my high school was very, very science and math and high academic focused. So it wasn't exactly the most common route.
So did you start learning French in grade 1 then?
Yeah, so my elementary school was also full French. So since like JK, I was always in French.
Wow, okay. So how was that, I guess, transition going from full French to in first year university in English?
Yeah, so that's why I guess in my school it wasn't very common to pursue like a journalism or any sort of media program because I guess it was a full French school. It wasn't common at all. So that was fine, because obviously through sports, like I was saying before, and through other things, I was very socially involved in other things outside of high school. So my life was in English, so I was fine in that regard. And because I guess I didn't have to, it would have been harder, I think, if I was in a science or something like that, because I would have to, everything I learned in the science, all the terminology and everything, I'd have to translate. However, in English, it's just like common words and everything. So it wasn't too bad. I thought it would have been worse, but it wasn't.
Yeah, gee, I couldn't do science in French. I did French immersion, grades 1 to 8, and then I did French up until grade 11. And yeah, it was hard for me. I don't remember any of it, so I could definitely not take a French elective now or any courses in French. I wouldn't remember anything.
Yeah, that's the difference between, I think, French immersion and full French is that full French, everyone has a parent at home that speaks French.
Right.
So it's kind of second nature to you. That's why like learning French and science isn't really jarring, because it's basically just another language that you have. So.
Right.
Yeah, I can't speak a word. I took it from grade 4 to grade 9 because it was mandatory, and then dropped it as fast as I possibly could.
Yeah, I wouldn't like it either if I hadn't learned it when I was like a toddler. So
that probably does help, and
yeah.
I'm sure that's going to come in handy down the road in sport media. And
I hope so.
Yeah, I think especially like I get job notifications, quote unquote, from Indeed, none of which I'm qualified for because I'm still a student. but a lot of them are like in Quebec for French speaking jobs. So
Yeah.
having French
definitely
is,
an advantage.
yeah, massive advantage. But let's sort of jump back a little bit to your high school, end of high school, how you sort of found out about the sport media program and what really pushed you to pursuing sport media.
Yeah, so I first knew about Ryerson's journalism program, and that's really what I had my eyes set on. My English teacher was like, "Oh, like Carleton has a really good journalism program, so does Ryerson." One person 3 years older than me in my high school. I went to a small high school, so I kind of knew everyone. One person way older than me did go to Ryerson journalism, and they were a very sport-oriented person. So I was like, okay, I could do that. And then I guess through my application process with journalism, I had discovered the sport media program. So I guess that's how I discovered it. But I did some research and I knew that it was quite difficult to get into the program. Obviously, the numbers were a lot lower. The acceptance rate was a lot lower. So I applied to both at Ryerson, the journalism and the sport media program. And then I was pretty set. I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to get into the journalism program, and sport media is just like this super long shot that if I do get it, then I'll think about it. But I'm really not expecting anything. So when I did get into journalism quite early, when people were asking me where I was going to school, I was assuming I was going to go to journalism. I thought sport media was a total rule out. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to Ryerson journalism, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I was pretty dead set on that. And then once I got my sport media acceptance, that's when I really took it seriously. I was like, okay, like I should probably do this.
So what was that application process like for you then? Because everyone up until now has pretty much been like, oh, we wanted to get into the sport media program, unless they switched from a different university. And it sounded like for you, it was initially a second option. So what was that entire interview process like? Was it less stressful or more stressful because you had more weight into this program and more of an expectation for not getting in? What was that sort of like for you?
I think, on the contrary, sport media was my first option, but I guess my self-confidence wasn't very high, so I had sort of just not considered it as even an option. So I applied to it sort of like a Hail Mary, and I was really just taking journalism seriously. The application process, it was a lot, right? Because you have to submit all those resumes and essays and Q&As and stuff, and you have to do sort of the same thing for journalism. So doing both of those was quite a bit of work. My favorite part, I think, were like the reference letters, because I got to see what like my high school teachers would say about me, and it kind of like made me emotional and stuff. It was really nice. So yeah, and then I guess in the interview process, I guess we could talk about that a little bit if you want. I had Joe, and I was super nervous because once I got into the interview, I was like, okay, I got this far. I think I can make it now. I think I'm quite good at interviews, so I think I can sort of grab it. And then after my interview with Joe, I thought I completely blew it, because I don't know, like it was just I was so nervous. It was so easy to see that I was nervous.
I was there. I was there too, by the way. You remember,
Aiden
right?
was actually the only person I got to know. Him and Zach.
Yeah.
And they were both from Oakville. I was like, is everyone in this program from Oakville? Anyways. And then Joe was talking, and he was sort of making casual conversation, like he always does. And he asked, like, oh, like, you like TFC? Because I guess I mentioned soccer. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, I love TFC. He was like, oh, so what do you think of them? So, like, these days, whatever. And at the time, they had just lost the CONCACAF Champions League final. So it was like a huge loss, right? And I guess I didn't even think of that. And I was like, yeah, they're great. Like, they're doing great. They're doing so good. And then I realized afterwards, I was like, I completely disregarded what he wanted me to hear. But that's fine. I got it.
That was not a good time. That was penalties to Guadalajara, I believe.
I was heartbroken.
Bradley skied one.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that backline, we'll get into Toronto FC in a little bit, but I think that backline consisted of Justin Morrow. Oh, not even Justin Morrow. I think he was hurt. It was Michael Bradley.
Drew Moore.
Was he healthy?
Zavaleta? I don't know.
No, because they only had one central defender.
I see.
Because Bradley was having to play as a center back. and I think it
Yeah.
was, what was his name?
Beta Shore?
Gregory Vanderweel.
Yes.
Remember him?
Yeah.
I think he was part of that back line. And they might have just signed Arrow, but yeah, that was not a good season, and I'd like to push that out of my memory personally.
Yeah.
But clearly, soccer was a big part of your upbringing and a big
Mm-hmm.
part of your life, and I assume that's sort of what you want to pursue, that sort of side of sports, based on how you've talked about it up until now. But how is that sort of love of sports, and specifically the love of soccer, which isn't necessarily a huge popular sport in Canada? When people talk about it, it's not exactly widely accepted, I guess. It doesn't have the best perception. But how does that sort of love of a unique sport, and you also mentioned ultimate frisbee and badminton and swimming, all not the major four. So how has that, do you think, helped you navigate to where you are now and get some of the different positions that you have with Rams Live, with the like actual Ryerson, which we'll get into in a second. But how do you think?
Yeah.
That sort of helped
So I guess regarding soccer, soccer is such a growing game in Canada right now, so it's really exciting. I think I'm not limiting myself to wanting to be in soccer, but if I do end up in with like a TFC or MLS or whatever it may be, I think that would be so awesome just because soccer is growing. I think it's going to be huge, like it is everywhere else, obviously. And yeah, just because Canada is becoming so multicultural and everything, soccer is inevitably going to grow with that. So being involved, soccer growing up, I think gave me a taste of what the potential of Canada is going to be like in terms of diversity and just like a taste of everything. I went to a soccer academy that was very European. And yeah, it just gave you a taste of something that I don't think I would have had if I had grown up playing hockey or baseball or something. So in that regard, I think soccer in Canada is going to be really exciting, and working in soccer is potentially like something I would really be involved in. In terms of other sports, I've always been really into the Olympics, and just like triathlon and just sort of different sports that are so difficult. Like, I don't think people realize how difficult these sports are and how comfortable some sports like a baseball, I'm not going to send shots, but like baseball or even soccer at times, or like even a football or something, but the sheer pain that certain Olympic athletes go through that I think their stories aren't told enough, is something that's really exciting that I would love to want to tell or just be a part of.
And you mentioned triathlons and stuff, and when I was doing research on you, which I like to call stalker work because it is, I looked at your Instagram, and there was a picture there where you tagged something called Spartan Race. Can you dive into what that is and what you did for that?
Yeah, Spartan Race is just like I don't know if you've heard like of Tough Mudder. It's sort of like the same thing. Yep. It's just like an ultra race. A lot of like CrossFit people sort of dive into that. I'm not really a CrossFit person, but yeah, it's just a lot of obstacle courses. You like running up mountains and everything. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, I've recently started looking into sort of that area of just like triathlons and everything. Obviously, COVID sort of pushed that back, but I would love to maybe do one of those one day. I think it's just different sports, right? It's less basic, and it involves a lot of discipline. So that'd be cool.
Didn't you do another run over the summer for charity or something, like a 15K or something?
Yeah, so a buddy of mine who plays soccer in the States, over quarantine, we were kind of losing our minds. So we just started running a lot. And then once the whole BLM social justice movement was sort of at its peak, we were like, we have to do something about this. What can we do? We have all this time on our hands. So we did sort of like a run where people can donate per kilometer that we plan on running. And then we got a bunch of pre-donations and then commitment donations, and we ended up running 45 kilometers in a day, and then we raised around $4,000. So it was awesome.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's crazy.
So like, you are. We should probably mention this. You are one of the most in shape people in this program. All we have to do is look at your Instagram, and you can see that. But I think the triathlon stuff, that's really interesting. I've done a try, which didn't go to plan, let's put it that way. And yeah, I was also did CrossFit, so it's funny you talk about that. But how
Nice.
is that sort of unique, I guess, perception of being an actual athlete in endurance sports giving you an appreciation for actual media people and what they have to do physically as well? Because you look at some of these camera guys who are like running along with people carrying a 60-pound camera. Has that given you like more of an appreciation for it?
I guess so. What I've always appreciated is like even this could be like journalists or on air people. Some of them are low key in such good shape, and it's just like it goes under the radar, and then you go on their Instagram or something, and they're like running marathons or like bench pressing these crazy weights, and it's like I think being able to do things physically helps your confidence when it comes to working in sports and working in with athletes because it doesn't give you this sense of inferiority. Because if you're able physically to do things yourself and you're kind of evolved in sports yourself, I think it sort of gives you that connection with the athlete and the sport, and it kind of makes you feel like you're worthy and not you're just this outsider covering the sport from the outside, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think also like it just helps improve relationships with your coworkers as well, because they are obviously heavy on into sports. If you want to spend time outside of work with them, playing sports, playing like golf, for example, is a big one. You see a bunch of the TSN guys in the summer just coming together playing golf, or being active. So I think, yeah, I agree with what you're saying there.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Before we talk about all the stuff that you've done outside of Ryerson / with Ryerson in terms of sport media stuff, I want to ask you this one question, and depending on your answer is depending on whether or not Skylar will see this. Who is better at soccer, you or Skylar?
Oh, I used to play against Skylar. I used to dust him.
Whoa. Okay,
Jeez.
so we got some beef now.
No, he was really good, but I think now I would be better at him because I've stayed in better shape.
Oh boy.
No, I'm just kidding. But we were both at a pretty high level. I used to play against him. His team was really good. He was also good. So I think we were both at a pretty high level, and we played very similar positions.
So did you play against Io Akinola then?
No, Io, he was like with Brampton a lot, and then he went to TFC. And I wouldn't really play TFC all that much, but I did play against Noble Okello a lot.
Okay.
I played with Julian Dunn. So those are like the two notable TFC guys that I kind of played against and played with.
Yeah, so Noble Okello is now he's on loan with a Norwegian club. Oh, Denmark, right.
Yeah, he's with Rocco. I also played with Rocco.
And you played with Rocco, who has the best name on Toronto FC.
Rocco Romeo, yeah. I played against him. Sorry, I didn't play with him.
Isn't it like Rocco Romeo? It's so good.
Yeah.
But we'll dive into TFC in a second. I feel like that's just going to be a constant
that's fine.
trend. Us diving back to Toronto FC, but let's talk about some of the stuff that you've done outside of. Well, we'll start with affiliated with Ryerson, and we'll start off with the thing that everybody apart from me has done, which is Rams Live. You've been a part of their productions. Some of the roles you've had, according to your LinkedIn page, which if you want to come on the show, please make a LinkedIn page because it makes research so much easier. You've been a color commentator, sideline reporter, camera operator, stats guy, and audio. So of those positions, what has been your favorite role? And what have you sort of taken away from the Rams Live broadcasts?
Yeah, so my first year, I did like all the ones that a lot of first years do, like camera, stats, audio, stuff like that. Nothing super interesting. It's okay, like it's fine. And then I guess we'll get into it in a minute, but when I got my digital content job with Ryerson, I was at all the freaking games. So I was watching all the games. I knew all the stats. Like it was only fitting for me to do color commentary for these games because there's literally no one that goes to more games than myself. So I think I would be pretty confident. I think if I were to break the barrier of being on air, that would be the best place to do it. Mm-hmm. So that's sort of how I got to doing on air because I worked with the people who chose who to be on air. Like last year it was Hania. I worked with her. She was a videographer with the Rams. So I would be like, hey, Hanya, can I just do on air for this game? And she'd be like, yeah. So my process was a little bit easier than the average person. But yeah, once I got on air, surprise, surprise, it was really hard. I was probably really bad. But I had a lot of fun. And I think if I end up doing it again, I'll be a lot better because of that. So I did color twice and I did reporter once. And they were all three of them were great experiences.
What would you say you took away most from being on air? What do you think was like the hardest part throughout your first couple times doing it?
Yeah, so luckily, I don't think I was as nervous as someone usually would. Especially as a reporter, you have to like go up to these athletes or these coaches and interview them. But with my job, I already do that. I had already broken the barrier of like having the confidence to go up to a coach or go up to an athlete. I had already done it so many times that to me it was kind of already second nature, especially with Ryerson athletes and Ryerson coaches. So with reporting, I was completely fine. It was more so color commentary where I was doing basketball one time and I didn't grow up playing basketball. I'm a huge basketball fan, but color commentary, you really have to know like the rotations and the sets and really the details of the game. And I wasn't as confident in that. So I guess that was my biggest challenge because I felt like a fraud in some sense.
So what sports have you done then?
What sports haven't I done or have I?
Have you?
I did women's hockey reporting, and then I did color for women's volleyball and women's basketball. And women's volleyball was easily my favorite because volleyball is like arguably my favorite sport.
Huh.
Wow.
What position were you in volleyball?
I was a left side hitter.
Oh, okay. So you were one of the big boys. Got it.
Yeah, jump high, all that stuff.
Huh. I didn't realize that you were a volleyball. Well, I did once I researched, but I didn't realize, like, looking at you, you'd be a volleyball player. Because when you picture a volleyball player, you picture the
Taller.
just absolute giants.
What sports haven't you played?
Seriously, I never played hockey and I never played basketball. I can skate. I loved ball hockey. I grew up playing ball hockey.
That counts.
And basketball, I like started playing over quarantine, but never seriously. So
Would you
yeah,
say
I
that
guess those two.
Would you say that you're like a naturally born athlete? Like even if you picked up basketball like today, you'd be good in like a week?
Yeah, I think I'd be decent just because during my like formative years, I was playing tennis a lot, like an insane amount. I was at like an academy. I played Dennis. I don't know if you guys know Dennis Shapovalov. I'm assuming you know.
Yeah.
Doesn't know Dennis Shapovalov at this point.
I know. His coach was actually my coach growing up, so I was at like this academy and stuff. So my hand-eye coordination, I think because of tennis, is like permanently instilled in whatever I do. So I think tennis really helped me regarding just like anything else.
So you're a good baseball player then?
I would be, I think. Yeah, I always wanted to play baseball, but it was always at the same time as soccer.
True. Yeah, that's a bit of an issue with sports.
But I could always throw a ball really, really far.
You must be pretty good at ping pong too then.
Oh, yeah. I just sound like I'm boasting myself now. Like, I don't want to, this whole podcast is just going to be me talking about how good I am at everything, which is not true.
Well, we brought it up. I asked the question. I was actually curious, like, is there a sport you're not good at? Do you think there's a sport you're not good at? Is it like, oh boy, what sports could there be? Have you tried curling?
No.
Okay.
Probably bad at that.
Okay.
But ping pong, I do have a table in my house, and it was like, my high school, it was like a huge thing. Like there was a bunch of tables at my high school and we would all play during lunch and during our breaks. And I was sort of like the best one because of my tennis background. So I was, ping pong was like a huge thing in high school and it was really fun.
What about tackle sports? Like, did you ever play football, rugby, Aussie rules?
No, and I'm probably a big wussy, so I probably wouldn't be good at those.
It's not as bad as you think it would be.
I think I would be pretty good at rugby though, just 'cause I'm sort of quick.
You're also big, which
now I am, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's sports are so hit and miss. Like either you're good at them or you're bad, and you're actually athletic, so you're actually good at them from the sounds of it, unless you're just completely talking out of thin air. But let's dive back and talk more about your sport media stuff as opposed to actually your sports career.
Yes.
And talk about what you're doing with Ryerson, not necessarily Rams Live, but actually Ryerson Athletics.
Yes.
You're the athletic digital content assistant. So, what does that entail and what do you do?
Yeah, so I'm in my second year now doing DCA, which is Digital Content Assistant. Um, Last year was great because there was games.
Right.
This year, I'm still working with Ryerson. Luckily, I was employed all through the pandemic, basically. I was working full time with them in the summer as well. So it's been great. Basically, what I do is social media work, so Instagram, Twitter, just posts, prepping, all that stuff, and then writing articles. So previews, post game articles, recruitment announcements, all that kind of stuff. And then everything in between. So interviewing the athletes and the coaches, and if there's other media members at games, for instance, I have to organize who they are, who they want to talk to, all that kind of stuff. So it's sort of like a media relations representative in a sense, as well as a digital content creator and a public relations person, I would say.
So what have you been doing now since there are no university sports? Have you done more, I guess you said recruiting articles. Have you written more of those recently, like previews for the upcoming season, whenever that is? What kind of
Yeah, so
stuff?
during the summer, a lot of it was recruit articles. Right now, during the school year, we just have to be really creative, basically, and make something out of nothing. So a lot of throwbacks, a lot of on this days, a lot of archive stuff. That's mostly what I'm in charge of.
Uh-huh.
And then now we're sort of working on a lot of written pieces that are in the works. So it's a lot. It's different. It's a little bit less work than what it would be in a normal circumstance. However, it's a lot of different work that I wouldn't have been able to do if this weren't a circumstance.
So, how did you get involved with them?
Yeah. So um, basically, being a DCA has like changed everything for me. I don't want to sound cliche, but in my first year, I didn't feel like I was very involved. I felt very anxious about that. I felt like everyone was doing something and I wasn't. I was sort of working at a restaurant around my house. So I was always commuting and I never had time to do a lot of Rams Live stuff or anything. But I managed to do enough in my first year. And I think the key was just to do a little bit of everything instead of a lot of certain things. Like instead of going to 15 Rams Live games, I went to like 2 or 3. But on a resume, it looks like you still did a legit amount of things. And then like I wrote for RUTV News, is that what it's called? I wrote once for them and then like once for another place. So I sort of built up a resume that was enough to where I made it look like I presented myself in a good way. And then at the end, actually, can I tell a funny story? I know
Yeah.
I'm like
Yep.
babbling, but so basically, before I got my DCA job, I really wanted to be involved in social media and I wanted to run a social media account. So at the end of my first year, I applied for a volunteer position that there was an email sent out about Ryerson Fast Pitch team. So there was basically a volunteer position to run their social media accounts. So the Ryerson Fast Pitch women's team, they're like, we need a social media person. They sent this to all the RTA students. And I applied, I sent in my resume and everything. And then later that week, Dan Berlin, who is my instructor, he's a big like baseball and fast pitch person. So he's like, oh, Emile, I saw that you applied for the fast pitch position, and Dan really liked me. So he was like, yeah, like I'll give the coach some good words. I'll recommend you, and you should be fine. You should be good to go. And I was like, wow, thanks, Dan. Like I'm gonna get the position. Finally, I'll be a social media person for a thing like an account, even though it's free work, but whatever. And then like a few days later, I got an email that I didn't get it, and I was like, "What the hell, Dan?" Like,
What?
yeah. And I was like, "This is free work," and I didn't get it. So I was quite frustrated because I really wanted to get my foot in the door in any sense. And then later that summer, between first and second year, I had applied to be in the Ryerson Sports and Business Association as like a marketing or events person. And I went downtown, I wore a suit and everything. Like I was so jacked up for it. And then I had my interview and then I didn't get in. So I was like two strikes. I was really frustrated. I was like, man, like I'm offering myself, this is all free stuff. Like I'm not even getting paid for any of this.
Yeah.
Like what is it going to take? And then the Ryerson Rams posted, this must have been during the summer. They posted on their Instagram story like, oh, do you want this to be you? And it was like the DCA role, I guess. And I was like, oh, okay. Like this is like the ideal thing.
Right.
But my odds don't seem that great because this is like a really big position. So I reached out to Jessica Pincente, who was the DCA at the time, who I worked with last year. And I reached out. I was like, "Hey, I know you're a DCA. Like, is there anything I can do or say to like kind of increase my chances?" Just sort of like taking an initiative. And later on, she did tell me that that really helped in my application process. But so yeah, and then I got an email back from the boss, and I got an interview. Then after the interview, I think I did well. So then I got the position. And when I got the position at the end of that summer, it was this huge like relief from all the times. Like, I know it's just twice and I'm going to get rejected a million times more, but those 2 rejections I sort of didn't take very well. So that was like a huge relief. Like, finally I'm going to be involved. I'm going to have some sort of purpose when I go to school, other than the program, which I liked, but I really wanted to do more. So that was like a huge moment for me. And I think I realized also how significant of a position it is. Even now, it's given me so many opportunities and connections that I think will be really valuable going forward.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, it is. And how many hours a week do you think you put in to being a
So
DCA?
in the job description, it's 11 hours a week. During the season, like especially last year, it was probably a little bit more. But it's fun, man. Like, as much as it's work, like you go to school and then afterwards you go to the game, you're watching the game, you know the people, you know all the games in the past. So you have this huge connection with the team. So, and then the people we work with, like my fellow DCAs, they're like some of my best friends. They're like the greatest humans on earth. Like this year it's Joe and Hayden, who are both amazing. And so yeah, you're with your friends, you're talking it up, you're watching sports and you're covering it and you're getting paid. So it's really something that I would look forward to no matter how much work it really is.
Is it as much fun as running the esports spin now blog?
I'm assuming that's what you're doing.
No, that is your blog.
What do you mean esports blog?
Esports spin, I believe is what it's called. Esports spin.
Oh
now?
my God. Wow. You took that out of nowhere, didn't you?
Yep.
Wow. Okay. So that was basically just for my journalism portfolio. So Ryerson journalism, you needed a
Okay.
portfolio. I was like, let me make a website, throw a couple articles in there. Oh my God, did you read them? They must be so bad.
I didn't read them.
Yeah, that was what, 2017 or 18, and that was sort of my first time writing something ever.
2017, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like 3 or 4 articles. I was sending them out on Twitter, and they really got 0 traction, but I didn't really care because it was mostly for my portfolio. I think they worked because I got into those programs, but yeah, I never touched the website since because I had gotten into the program, and that's about it. I guess I never had a huge passion for writing, but in my DCA job, I do like shorter form writing, and I think that's more for me because I'm more of a minimalist when it comes to writing.
I agree with that. Less writing, the better for me.
Yeah.
I enjoy writing, but again, it's very hit or miss. Have you ever thought about doing some written work for like Fansided?
Yeah, I know. Like, it feels like every friggin' sports media person did Fansided.
It's because
No, like,
everybody does.
I have not
Yeah.
done it. I have applied. I have not done it, though.
no. I think, especially now that I am with Ryerson, I sort of get my writing fix and I get my reps in with them. I do write a lot, even if it is in shorter form. I do write a lot. So I think, obviously, I would love to continue writing, but my passion for writing, I don't think is as significant or substantial as other people. And I don't know. I don't think writing for Fansided would serve me any purpose right now. Maybe down the line, but right now I don't really feel a need for it.
You've got a lot on your plate already, so it sounds like
Very
you've done it
true.
all. You know, you've done the color commentating, you've done sideline reporting, camera. You said stats, digital content. Yeah, you got a lot of on your plate. And then also, I saw Connor put this in the doc, but you have a pretty good TikTok account as well.
Oh my God.
Yes,
I knew you
found
guys were
it.
going to bring this up. I was
I
afraid you were going to
found
bring
it.
it up. Yeah, it doesn't. So wait, I haven't Googled myself in a while. Is that like the first thing that comes up?
It's top 3, I think.
I mean, it's got to be. Yeah.
Jesus.
Well, dude,
Yeah.
there's a reason for it. One of your videos has 1.2 million views.
Yeah, and then I have like 4 or 5 other videos that have like 200K or something. It's crazy, man.
3 videos that have just over 200K. You have 7,423 followers, 452,500 K likes.
I really don't post that often though, but
Yeah, you only
yeah,
had like
that's just
20-ish.
yeah. That was just over quarantine. I think a lot of my friends and I got TikTok, and I'm as much as passionate as I am for sports. I like to think my biggest passion is music. I don't know if I'll turn it into a profession, but music is really the biggest part of my life, I think. And I just made some videos. I'm sort of known around my friend group to like make playlists and know a lot about music and stuff. So I sort of just like shot up some little videos on TikTok, like, hey, here are some good folk albums or something, just like some random stuff. And I guess there was a niche for it in TikTok. TikTok's really is really great in terms of the algorithm finds the people that it needs to find. So anyone can blow up at any time. And I think I knew how to capitalize on it. Not that it was my intention, but yeah, I guess my taste in music got a lot of people excited. So
that would explain your 556 followers on Spotify then.
Wow, you did your research, eh?
Honestly, it comes up, and you have 56 subscribers on YouTube, but you actually have a few videos up here which have some decent views, like
Those
over
are
100.
old, yeah.
A few 1K. One has, does that say 69K?
Yeah.
Wow. From like concerts and stuff.
Fun fact, the concert that I filmed that has 69K, or just a song that I filmed, that was the worst concert I've ever been to, and it has the most views I have ever had. So it's sort of
clearly everybody else enjoyed it.
Yeah, on YouTube.
Yeah.
But yeah, TikTok is funny. I don't think of myself as a TikToker. I don't really post very consistently. It's sort of half of it is just for my friends, but some of them blow up once in a while, so that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool. Yes, I think that's a cool little tidbit of having 1 million people plus.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd be thrilled if my employers saw it like going forward, so I might privatize my account one day, but we'll see.
I think you should leave it up because that got a lot of attention, and that's what people want in social media.
That's true.
That's
true.
We'll wrap up your sort of conversation with 2 other jobs, I guess you've had, sort of opportunities. We'll start off with your current position, which is as a social media marketing manager for Pick Waste. You started that in May, which is at the very beginning of quarantine.
Yes.
I assume you just run their social medias, but can you tell us a bit about that company and maybe a bit more in detail what you do for them?
Yeah, so I'm glad you guys brought that up. Wow, I didn't expect that. Pick Waste is a sort of environmental company that I work with. It's volunteer based, so I don't get paid for it, but I get a ton of experience out of it, and I really value it. I'm also into sustainability, especially as of late. So this company, it's co-founded by 2 guys who one of them goes to University of Waterloo, and the other one is sort of an entrepreneur and public speaker. His name is Sam. I grew up playing soccer with him. Okay. And they're 2 of like the most hardworking, dedicated, and focused people I know. And I sort of was watching Pick Waste from afar, and I had always respected them. And then when they sort of posted a thing that they were looking for a sort of digital content creator, social media person, I was like, wow, I really want to surround myself with people that are this locked in a good sense, and that they prioritize just the good things like mental health and a healthy way of living, but also they work extremely hard. And I think I could learn a lot from these people. So in May, I reached out back, and I sort of got hired right away because they saw my experience with Ryerson. Mm-hmm. And ever since then, I've been running their socials. And I think an opportunity that I really liked with them was that it's just me, whereas Ryerson, I have other people I'm working with. So before posting certain things, I have to run it by people, or we would sort of analyze strategies together. Whereas with Pick Waste, it's just me. So I sort of have this freedom to make a lot of decisions and basically run a whole marketing campaign on my own. So I've been very fortunate to be with them. They're a great company. We do cleanups. So weekly cleanups, they do it in Pickering. We get like 20 to 30 people a week to pick up a bunch of trash. We've picked up over 2,000 bags of trash. And we also have like a sort of Gen Z environmental blog that I promote as well. So it's a lot of stuff going on with that company, and I'm really happy to be with them, but just because it kind of diversifies my skill and what I'm able to put on my resume and things like that.
So
you are definitely a future social media aficionado.
Definitely.
Yeah, I hope so. We'll see. I'm looking into grad school because I really want to be into just the whole communications and PR field. So we'll see.
That's sick.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask what have you noticed is like the clear difference between running a social media page like Pick Waste compared to Ryerson, because it's completely not sports related.
Yeah. So with Ryerson, obviously because there's so many people behind it and a lot of money behind it, and it's sort of like a organization or institution. I learned the really organized things with them and the really corporate things with them. Things that I wouldn't have learned anywhere else. Whereas Pick Waste, I'm forced to be a little more creative.
Right.
I think maintaining consistency in terms of there's going to be a season, there's going to be content, there's going to be sports with Ryerson. Not really, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with Pick Waste, you sort of have to make your own content. You have to really use your brain in sort of how do I keep people engaged and everything. So I think I had to learn with Pick Waste how to be creative and how to make something out of nothing. Whereas with Ryerson, there's going to be sports content, kind of like generates itself sometimes with sports.
Requires a lot more creativity. But I want to wrap up our conversation because we only have like 5 minutes-ish left on Spirit Live, where once we're finished with our chat on Spirit Live, we're going to go over to our YouTube channel, The Big League. We're currently streaming on there, and we'll finish off by just talking general sports for as long as Emile can. Specifically, we'll dive into TFC because TFC our life. But let's dive into finally a trip you did. Habitat for Humanity. Can you dive into what that trip was like and maybe some stories that you have from doing that volunteer work?
Yeah, wow. That was my grade 12 year, where a lot of people my age were, I guess, doing like S trips or grad trips or stuff. But myself, all my best friends basically in high school, and there was a group of, I think, 12 of us in our high school affiliated with our high school and with Habitat for Humanity. We went to El Salvador, which is where Forge FC went recently for their CONCACAF game, but that's besides the point. So El Salvador, and we built a house. We were there for a week. And it sounds so cliche when I say it, but it was like the most eye-opening experience. You kind of learn a lot about just sort of perspective and how people that have so much less are so much happier than we are, and you really take something away from that. Almost so that being immersed in that sort of circumstance for a week, coming back, I was like almost disgusted with society to a point, and it kind of took me a while to get over that. But you learn a lot from just being somewhere where people aren't as fortunate, but they're like happier than you are. It really sort of changes your perspective on things.
So what would be your biggest takeaway from that experience?
Yeah, just to be grateful for what you have, and also construction work is really hard. It's really hard physically. Sometimes I'll look at construction workers like in my area and I'm like, oh, they're just standing around doing nothing. But it's like they're so exhausted. And I never really understood that until I did it for a week. So that's another thing that I think I'll take away for a while.
Did it take you the entire week to build the house?
Oh yeah, we didn't even finish it. Like it had to be another group that came after us.
Oh, okay.
So we just did like the groundwork. So we were digging a lot and then putting a lot of concrete and bricks and stuff. So it was just like the groundwork.
Nice.
And we played some soccer with a lot of the kids from El Salvador, so that was really nice.
Were you the best one there?
Oh yeah. I had the formal training. They weren't privileged enough to have any sort of training. They would just play all the time. So
Right. Nice.
Yeah, I went on a trip with my high school to Costa Rica, and we played some soccer with the locals there, and they are so much better than us. It's not even funny.
Yeah, they're more just like creative and technically gifted. They're awesome.
the natural skill there is just so much better. But let's wrap up our little interview segment before we take off. And we like to ask this final question. And it's, what are the 3 biggest takeaways you've had from sport media and your career in sport media so far? And what are your 3 suggestions for somebody looking to get into the industry?
So my 3 biggest takeaways is very much what we have been told our whole time in this program, is that it is what you make of it, which is super sort of oversaid, but it's true. I think my job with Ryerson, for instance, is like almost as I value it almost as much, if not more, than my degree. I think the experience I'm getting with that is like just as valuable. So one, just like go outside, like you guys are doing this show. I'm sure you're learning so much about it, or about how to conduct yourself on air and other things through this show. So just do things other than your program, because the program is really just like a base. Secondly, I think that's a huge point. But secondly, I think our instructors, for the most part, I think are so amazing. Like, obviously everyone talks about Ryan, but Ryan Sykes is like someone I really look up to as a human being, not even just like a professor or an instructor. So I think RTA as a whole, like their instructors are so good, and I think I've been so impressed over this online format of how much work they're willing to do for us.
Yeah.
And then third, just make great connections within your program, because we're going to be running the freaking industry. I think, because like honestly, I speak so highly of people in my program. Like there are so many people in our year that I'm so impressed by all the time. Like I was listening to the show with Kyle the other day, Kyle Cushman, and like I'm always so impressed by Kyle. Like he's just one example, and like he's definitely not listening, but like Kyle impresses me, and that's just like one example of people in our program are so creative and so well spoken and everything. So I'm very humbled by it.
Yeah, for sure. We got a lot of talent.
Yeah, Kyle is unbelievable, and Ryan, Aiden and I are both big fans of Ryan.
Yeah, I'm head of the Ryan Club.
Yeah, he's unbelievable and genuinely one of the best technical people you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
Everybody's good. Jeez, Evan was good on the show yesterday too. I haven't worked with Evan since first semester last year, and yeah, it was good working with him again.
Yeah, all the technical people at Ryerson are amazing. But I think we will take it out there. Yeah. I think we'll save hot takes for when Emile takes off on our YouTube channel and sort of force everybody there. But if you want to continue listening to the show, go to youtube.com, search The Big League, scroll past the couple of Tom Cochran songs that are ahead of us, and our channel should come up. Click on the channel. The live stream should be right there. You can listen to us, continue the show on live, probably for a little bit, because there's been quite a bit of sports news over the last week. But with that, Emile, thank you for joining us. We really, really, really appreciate it. You are one of the best human beings we know. If the volunteer work doesn't say that enough. But we really appreciate you coming on. We will link in our YouTube show, our YouTube live stream, all of the stuff he's done down below. So his TikTok, we'll link his Instagram,
YouTube,
his blog, his YouTube, his Spotify.
Don't link my blog, please.
We're gonna link your blog just to spite you.
We don't have to. You can say no. It's fine.
Yeah. But yeah, all that stuff will be down below. Watch out for him in the future on social media platforms. But we'll be back next week, 3 to 4 on Spirit Live and YouTube.com. But with that, peace.
Thanks, guys.
All right, cool. Emile, I'll send you another link.
Yep.
All right. So you guys take off, and I will readjust the audio and then jump out of log me in.
All right.
So you're sending me a link, Aiden, or no?
Yeah, I'm going to send you another link to our other Discord channel, and then we'll hop on that.
Gotcha.
All right. We need to get off because somebody else has a show.
All right, cool. We'll hop off now.
All right.
I'll send it on Instagram.
How do I hop off? Oh, got it. Okay.
We'll disconnect. Yeah. good bet. Welcome and good bet.
All right.
Awesome. Oh yeah, we're still going. Still streaming.
So yeah, I'll be here until around 4:45. That's cool.
All right, awesome.
Perfect. Well, hello to everybody who is listening to it on YouTube, if it's anybody. Let's see, how many listeners do we have? We have one, which will be Aiden.
No, it's not me.
But
It's not me.
no?
No.
Okay. Well, we have one more listener, so hello to that listener. Let's dive into the week in sports. And we're going to start off with my favorite team and my favorite league for some reason. Not many people say that, but I'm unique. MLS, because we had quite the week last week, especially weekend, as it was decision day. A lot of different things needed to happen and change, and Toronto FC were in Supporter Shield hunt, which didn't go to plan. Montreal were in fighting for a playoff spot against DC. There was ton of stuff in the West, but today we're going to focus specifically on Toronto FC. If you want to hear my thoughts on MLS, I'm recording a podcast tomorrow, which you can go check out, the MLS Multiplayer podcast. Shameless plug. But Emile, I want to get some of your thoughts on Toronto FC, but we're going to start off with the Philadelphia Union, and specifically the Supporter Shield. I don't know if you two saw this story. Did you?
I don't know which story you're referring to, so probably not.
All right. You're going to love this. It's the most MLS thing that's ever happened. So, obviously, the Supporter Shield is controlled by supporters. A few weeks ago, this group of people decided that they weren't going to award the Supporter Shield. And
yes,
then
I remember
people
that.
Lost their minds, rightfully so. And they decided to reverse their decision because they actually had brains. But basically, right now, the Shield was in LA. So they have to ship the Shield to Philadelphia because odds are they're going to win it. The issue with that, the Shield didn't show up on time. So, what did the Philadelphia Union do? Well, basically, I believe it was like the web manager or something. His fiance's brother's or sister's boyfriend or something like that has a full replica, like legit full replica, the kind of thing like he can stick it on his back with a magnet sort of thing. Replica of the Captain America shield. So what they did, they just put an emblem or whatever, just the Supporter Shield image, and they pressed it onto the shields.
Oh my gosh.
As a TFC supporter, that's an amazing story because I'm so glad they didn't get the actual trophy.
They got it the next day.
Yeah, not a sweet.
It's just absolutely the most MLS thing ever that would happen. A, in the first place. B, that somebody would find the way to get a replica piece of metal that they could raise as a trophy. And 3, that MLS published this all over their social medias.
Yeah,
Wow.
I guess making light of it, owning up to it, which I respect. So I guess if they look at it into like a funny angle, especially because of current circumstances, that maybe it was like impossible or something. So I commend MLS for sort of, I guess, owning up to it in that respect.
That's the thing. They didn't own up to it. I think the union owned up to it. The league just posted pictures, and everyone thought it was photoshopped until the story came out.
Interesting.
Do you think they're just trying to get more views by doing this?
No, I think they
it's that
actually
deep.
screwed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
It's
seeing it on the
MLS.
Instagram now.
It's MLS. Like, this is exactly what they would do. And that supporters section is completely useless, but we'll talk about that another time. Let's specifically, though, talk about Toronto FC and their match against the New York Red Bull. Emile, obviously the first half sucked. I think that's probably an understatement. What did you think about the second half, though?
I think it was encouraging. Obviously, like with all these injuries and the fact that they haven't been at home in God knows how long, that they're doing their best. I think they're playing decent football when the time is right. Obviously, this game wasn't the best example, but I think I wasn't too concerned. Obviously, I'm sort of not really talking about the second half, but I wasn't too concerned watching this game or any of the games that they have lost as of late, just because I know this team is such a playoff built team. They're just covered with vets and people who have been there, done that. So I think these games are a little insignificant in the grand scheme of things. However, you hate to lose against the Red Bulls and any other team at the end of the season. It doesn't give you the best momentum, but I wasn't too fazed by it.
Yeah, I can sort of understand that. It was positive that Tsubasa Endo scored. That's always a good thing. And he wasn't terrible. I thought he was pretty energetic.
Yeah.
Can't say that about many other players. It was good that they got Jonathan Osorio and Josie Altidore back, although Josie did absolutely nothing and Osorio came off at the end of the half. But what did you think about their performances, and how big do you think getting them back is going to be for the playoffs?
To be fair, I never expect Josie Altidore to do anything.
Fair.
I think whatever he does is a bonus, and I think his presence does enough to give others space. Osorio, I'm so happy to have him back. I think he's our captain when we don't have a captain. I think he's like the general with Bradley. I think he's so good, especially these last few years. I think he's taking huge steps. Josie, he's just made of glass, so I expect him to just be sidelined all the time. And when he does come on and hold up the ball well and sort of distribute, I think that's the best we could ask of him. And I was also kind of upset about Richie getting injured, even though it didn't look too bad, because I think Richie is just unreal as well on the flanks. I think he's so dangerous, and he keeps every defender at bay, which is huge, especially in the playoffs. I think he can just like penetrate any back line that pushes up really, really high.
He's so good on the ball. My biggest issue with him is his temper. I think he needs to control his emotions a little bit better, because he can get in trouble when people get under his skin. And he goes down way too easily. He's not getting any calls anymore. Referees are starting to understand and see that he goes down way too easily, and it's starting to cost him tackles and penalties that probably should have been penalties, personally.
That's fair, yeah. That's true. At the beginning, he was getting every call.
Yeah.
I remember he was just getting penalties left and right, which was awesome, but yeah, you're right. It's starting to get a little understood now with referees. So going into the playoffs, I think he knows like he's gonna have to, especially in the playoffs, you're just gonna want to get the ball in the back of the net. So diving isn't always gonna help that, especially if you want to like play forwardly and play effective football.
Yeah, fully agree. It'll be interesting to see whether or not Vanny uses him as a sub, and whether or not he goes more of a experienced backline with Jonathan Osorio, Morrow, Justin Morrow, and Arrow Jr.
I think Richie is like such a good sub. I think he's such a good energy player that he comes on in like the 65th, the 70th when the defenders are tired, and he just dusts them.
Yeah. If that Columbus game doesn't show that, like his goal against Columbus, I don't know what does.
Exactly.
It's unbelievable. But I want to ask you, are you on the sell Josie train?
I'm not really good with like market value and everything when it comes to MLS. Would we get a lot for him or no?
Probably not.
Or would we free up a lot of salary space? I know we are paying a lot.
So he's a DP right now.
Yeah.
So obviously, you have 3 DP rules.
Yeah.
But that's going to change potentially this offseason as they introduce the young DP, which one of your DPs has to be 23 or younger.
I see.
If in order to spend over a certain amount. So
I think out of all the DPs, I would for sure get rid of him. Obviously, he still has something to offer. However, the payoff, I don't think is all there when half the time he's just not on the pitch,
He also has, I think, 2 years left on his contract that's paying him, I want to say around $4.5 million per, which in MLS, that is a lot. But I'm in agreement. I think they should sell him. I don't think he provides what he used to, and I think Io has shown that he can do as much, if not much better than Josie. And you have the young DP rule, might as well lock him up as a young DP.
He's quicker too. Like he plays Josie's game, but just how Josie used to play it more effectively.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was watching the rerun from that Montreal Eastern Conference Final game in 2016. You remember that game, Connor?
Oh yeah,
I was there actually. Me too.
So was I.
Yeah. Probably the greatest sports game I've ever been to. But I was watching the game and Josie was slimmer and he was running around everywhere. And I was like, I completely forgot about this version of him. That now he's some sort of bodybuilder. I don't know what the point of it is. All this extra mass is what's making you tear every hamstring you have every time you run. So, yeah, I think Io would be a great choice if he wants to stay. And I think he's basically just going to be what Josie could provide for us, but just on a more consistent level, you know?
Yeah, I think that pace is huge. And I know Aiden's been quiet this entire time because he doesn't follow soccer.
I have a question, though.
Okay, hit it.
What do you guys, I don't know if you guys saw, but there was news that broke like 40 minutes ago. Award finalists for the MLS, TFC.
I didn't see that.
So Pozzuelo, who I know that Connor's high on, he is nominated for MVP. Do you guys think that he should win MVP?
He will win MVP.
You think so?
Yeah. Every ballot I've seen from a media member
certain.
has him.
Who are the other nominees?
Here, I can list them off. So, the Landon Donovan MLS Most Valuable Player finalists. Yes, MLS has, 6 words in their MVP award? But, yeah. Andre Blake from Philadelphia Union, the Jamaican goalkeeper. Nicholas Cladero, Seattle Sounders, Uruguayan International.
Boring.
Jordan Morris, Seattle Sounders, American.
Boring.
Alejandro Pozuelo, TFC. I don't think he's cap tied. He might be eligible. I don't know what the rules are, but there might be an outside chance that he can play for Canada one day. And then finally, Diego Rossi from LAFC.
I actually agree. I think Paz is going to win it then.
When was the last time a TFC player won the MVP award?
Giovinco.
Yeah, it has to be Giovinco.
Okay.
I think it's a bit of a toss-up between Blake and Pozuelo, especially when you look at the last 2-ish games where Philly had to play without Blake.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Pozuelo will win out, but it's going to be an interesting conversation.
I think TFC's story has been so underrated this season just because they haven't really been home and they've had so many injuries and everything. I think Paz really took them on their back and just carried them. So I think, and they finished second. They almost finished first. They almost won the Supporters' Shield. So that's insane. So I think he will win it. I agree.
Yeah, he's been so good this season. He's not the only TFC member on this award nominee finalist list.
Is Piatti getting a shout?
No.
Oh,
The
interesting.
Siggy Schmidt MLS Coach of the Year finalists.
Oh, yeah. Greg's
Jim
got to be
Curtin,
there.
Jim Curtin from Philly Union, Oscar Pareja from Orlando City, and Greg Vanney from TFC. Greg Vanney, in my opinion, comes third.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just glad he's nominated to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's deserving. We came into this season, I expected a lot from TFC, but I didn't expect them to be this good.
Yeah.
But again, it's just good to see. Do you want to run through all the awards and give who you'd pick?
Sure. Yeah.
All right, so we did MLS MVP. Let's do Defender of the Year. So Mark McKenzie from Philly Union, Jonathan Mensah from Columbus Crew SC, and Walker Zimmerman from Nashville SC.
Oh, he's good.
Wait, what? Did you miss Justin Morrow?
He is for newcomer or Humanitarian of the Year.
Oh, my
not
bad.
Defender of the Year.
Oh, I thought you were joking, Aiden.
Oh, no. I just read it wrong. It says Defender Justin Morrow. I didn't read the rest, though.
Oh, yeah, no, that's for Humanitarian.
I've been watching quite a bit of Nashville FC or SC this season. Zimmerman's been a monster. I actually, I knew a guy. I used to play with him. He was a year older than me, but he was at my academy called Alistair Johnson. He plays for Nashville now. But
okay.
I've known of him since we were kids, and he plays for Nashville now. So I was watching a lot of Nashville games, and Zimmerman is just an absolute monster. So I would say him, but I'm not as well versed in the MLS defenders, I guess, this season.
You picked right, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Goalkeeper of the year. All-state goalkeeper of the year, because, of course, there's a sponsorship on it. Andre Blake from Philadelphia Union, Eloy Room from Columbus Crew SC, and Matt Turner from New England Revolution.
It'll probably be Blake for like the millionth time, but he's deserving of it, I think.
Fully agree. I don't know how he hasn't ended up in Europe yet, personally.
Yeah, that's true.
He's such a good shot stopper. Maybe his play with the ball on his feet isn't good enough, but he's such a good shot stopper.
Yeah.
MLS Newcomer of the Year finalists. Robert Barrich from Chicago Fire FC, Alan Pulido from Sporting Kansas City, and Lucas Zelarayan from Columbus Crew SC.
Oof. I wouldn't be able to call this one. I'm not sure.
Really? Okay.
I'm with you. I can't call it.
Aiden, can you even call a single one of these?
I agree with him on Blake. I can't call it. No, I don't know.
I need to get you into MLS.
No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't.
Oh, we do. Emile, that's our new goal. Is we're gonna get Aiden into MLS.
Sounds good.
Yeah, sure.
They're pretty. TFC tickets aren't that bad. They're a lot cheaper than Leaf tickets. So.
Oh, that's for sure. Yeah,
you can get supporter section tickets for like $15.
Yeah.
They're really cheap.
Yeah. The beer costs as much as a ticket.
Exactly. And that's the most MLSE statement I've ever heard.
Yeah.
MLS Young Player of the Year. Brandon Aronson from Philadelphia Union, soon to be RB Salzburg player come January. Daryl Dyke from Orlando City SC. And finally, Diego Rossi, LAFC.
So is Ayo just like too young for this award? I'm pretty sure Diego Rossi is not that young.
It's under 22.
That sucks. Okay. Diego Rossi's 22, so like that's lame. He'll probably win it, I think, but yeah.
I could see it going to Brendan Aronson as well, because he's been so good on Philadelphia, and it's like a see you later award. Saying, hey, we recognize this guy because he was really good at MLS when he's like tearing up Europe.
That's like Adams on...
Tyler Adams, on
Tyler
RB
Adams.
Leipzig.
Yeah.
Who we don't know what position he plays.
Yeah.
Look, the MLS exports are making some real noise. You look at Davies, you look at Tyler Adams, you look at Miguel Almiron. There's a lot of attention here.
Also, the I always forget his name, but the city keeper.
Zach Steffen.
Yeah, he's great. I think he's great.
Yeah, he hasn't. I think he's played one game for Manchester City. He was on loan with Dusseldorf last season, where he was pretty much a starter until he got hurt.
Yeah, I don't know why he would join the best team in the world. I don't think his odds are exactly the greatest, but I think he would be like on a mid-table, I don't know, Italy or Spain team, you know?
He was already owned by Manchester City.
Yeah.
Because NYCFC are a subsidiary of Manchester City.
I know.
So I assume they just get first dibs, and then they'll just buy him and loan him out and collect money constantly.
Yeah, exactly.
For loaning him out. But again, who knows? Maybe he moves, maybe not. He's currently in the U.S. men's national team camp with Weston McKennie, Tyler Adams, all of them. Although Christian Pulisic left the camp today due to his hamstring injury, which he picked up pre-match warm-ups in the last Premier League game. So he's continuing to struggle with injuries, but we mentioned Coach of the Year.
Sorry, before you go on, we were talking about MLS exports, and you mentioned McKinney. I am a Juventus fan, so I'm a huge fan of Weston McKennie. I think he's great.
You like that signing?
Yeah. I don't know, like, it's so random for Juventus, but I think for him, I think he would take so much from it, so it's good for him.
I was skeptical of the move, personally.
I know. It's just when you're playing with Ronaldo, like you're 22 from the States, like what could be better, you know? I don't know.
Yeah, that's amazing. I was worried he wasn't going to get playing time.
He has been. I've been quite surprised. I think
Yeah, that surprised me.
Juventus, they use their roster a lot because they're always in Europe and they're
Hmm.
always have important games in Europe. So he's basically playing a lot of games in Serie A. So it's pretty good.
Yeah, I was worried he was going to get stuck behind like all of their midfielders, whether it be Archer
Yeah,
or
yeah,
well, I guess they sold Blaise Matuidi, so not him anymore. He's on Miami. But
yeah.
yeah, it's amazing watching these North Americans tear up Europe. Like even Mexicans, you look at
Hmm.
Jimenez on Wolves and
Yeah,
Chucky Lozano on Napoli. And you continue with Americans, you got Sergino Dest, who just signed with
yeah.
Barcelona, like
Hmm.
the best club on the planet, and he's making overlapping runs with Lionel Messi.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Got Alfonso Davies tearing it up for Bayern, although he's hurt now. Hopefully, we'll be back after the winter break, is what it's sounding like is going to happen.
Fun
But
fact: Fonzie and I are born the same day, the same year. So
really,
yeah, and I also knew about him when he was like 14 with the
Edmonton?
like just when he signed with the Caps second team. That's when I knew
Yeah.
about Fonzie, and I was like, this guy's insane. So
Yeah.
and he played provincial with some of my friends, so that's kind of how I knew about him. But
Uh,
yeah, he was just like he was a horse. Like he was just powering over everyone at such a young age. So it was great to watch.
yeah, I love bringing up what Skylar told me about him playing against Io and the fact that he'd he'd just purposefully look for contact
Yeah,
and he'd look to try to run into people just
yeah.
because he could. And I think
My friend who I ran that fundraiser with,
Yeah.
he plays for Lake Erie College in Cleveland, and Io Akinola's brother plays on that team, and they're very much
Right,
a similar
yeah.
playing style.
Is he as good? Will he be as good?
No, but
No.
no, but Io would be dominating on a D1 team right now. So
Oh yeah, for sure.
so yeah, Io is definitely above.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to I think we know who coach of the year is, Jim Curtin.
Yeah,
Agreed. Yeah. MLS Comeback Player of the Year finalists. This is an interesting one because I could see this going any sort of way. Starting off with Kevin Molino from Minnesota United FC. Next, Milton Valenzuela from Colorado Crew. And finally, Bradley Wright Phillips from the LAFC.
I like Brad. I hope he gets it. I just don't know if he'll get it, to be honest.
I agree with that. I think it's a toss-up between all three of them, personally.
Yeah,
But I'd love to see Bradley Wright Phillips get it after getting cut by Red Bulls last offseason and then signing on not a huge deal with LAFC.
yeah,
It's just a good story.
I like him.
Humanitarian of the Year. This will be the final award we do because we're not rewarding the referees because they're terrible in MLS.
They are.
There's a referee award?
Two of them. One for Referee of the Year finalists and MLS Assistant Referee of the Year finalists.
Wow.
One of which is a woman, actually. Hopefully she gets the Assistant Referee of the Year award. But finally, Humanitarian of the Year, Jeremy Abobisi with Portland Timbers, Mark Anthony Kay, Canadian international who went to York University, LAFC, and finally Justin Morrow with Toronto FC.
I love Justin, but I also love Mark Anthony. I met him last year at a tournament, at a fundraising tournament.
Oh,
He's great, but yeah, I think they both deserve it, especially with all the social change that they've both been involved in. So either one is a huge win.
this is a Justin Morrow walk away. This 100% is a word. From
He is the
everything he's
executive
done.
director of Black Players for Change, so
Yeah.
he's been taking huge steps.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess we'll wrap up our Toronto FC talk, MLS, and we'll touch a bit on basketball because I want to get your thoughts on the Fred Van Vliet thing that came out today.
Yeah, I'm so upset I didn't watch it, but I'm a huge JJ Redick listener of that podcast, and it was just posted like 2 hours ago, so I didn't get the chance, but I did read the quotes, so we'll talk about that, I guess.
I'm in the same boat. All I've seen is the quotes.
Yeah.
So I'll get your thoughts on that. But finally, Toronto are kicking off the MLS Cup playoffs on November 24th, and they will be playing the highest seed of Nashville, New England, and Montreal. Who do you hope Toronto FC get?
I kind of want New England, to be honest. I don't want Montreal.
Really? I
Yeah.
disagree.
Yeah, like it's not really a quality thing. It's more so just like a mental thing. I think TFC can beat any one of those teams if they're mentally in the right state of mind. I just think like if they're playing Montreal and even a young Nashville team that has nothing to lose, I don't know, but New England, I think that they just have their number.
The issue with New England is they just got Bo. I can't say his name. It's his last name is literally Bou. But they just got him back from injury. They just got Carlos Gil back from injury. So I don't want to face that. And I'd love a 401 derby, not in Canada. I think that'd be amazing.
That'd be interesting. That's true.
I think Toronto would just absolutely clear Montreal out.
I would hope so, yeah.
Montreal's pretty bad this year looking at the standings. They're like really bad. Only 26 points.
Their biggest issue is scoring. They don't have a striker. Their striker is Maximiliano Urruti, who is, I believe, a Toronto FC cut from a few years ago.
It would just be interesting because we played them so many times recently because we had to play them like a million times in that Canadian bubble thing. So I don't know if that would favor us or not.
Well, we won every single one of those games.
Yeah.
So that's always a good thing. Yeah. And Piet, I don't know if he'll be eligible. Oh, actually, he might be. Because he got a red card on the weekend.
Either one, I think TFC wins it quite convincingly.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed. They're hoping to have Delgado and Piatti back at least, as well as everybody else who's injured, which is the entire team. But we'll move on. I want to touch on basketball really quickly with you before you have to take off. And we'll finish off, Aiden and I, MLB, some tiny NHL stuff, but there's not really much there, and a little bit of NFL stuff because NFL. But let's finish off with the Fred VanVleet statements. To summarize it, he basically said he's going to get paid this summer.
Yep.
Rightfully so. I think a couple of years ago, he signed a short-term contract, sort of betting on himself once again. And he's been ridiculously good. However, I think a lot of teams that aren't good and don't have great front offices are going to throw money at him. He's probably going to take it because he deserves the money, like he said. Mm-hmm. However, I don't think in a system like the Knicks or a Charlotte or teams that are sort of dysfunctional, I don't see VanVleet being as efficient and dominant as he has been with the Raptors. I think the Raptors have such a good system. I'm not saying he's a system player. However, I'm saying when you're in a great environment like the Raptors create, I think it's not easy, but I think it optimizes his play, and I don't know if he would be the same player on a team where he's the primary scorer. Like, he's 5'11". I don't know if people double teaming him and him being the primary scorer is going to work out in his favor.
Yeah, it's a really tough situation because on the one hand, you don't want Toronto to lose him because after him, we don't know what's going to happen with the Terrence Davis situation. And I will go with the assumption that he gets cut.
Yeah.
Who is your backup point guard? You got Kyle Lowry and Norman Powell?
Yeah, and
Pat
you would probably
McCaw?
have to... Yeah, and Pat McCaw. Maybe Rondé. He's kind of a wild card, but...
He's a free agent
You'd
as
have
well,
to go out
though.
and you'd have to definitely sign another guy to replace Freddie. Like, obviously not the same skill level, but I think, like, Powell as a backup point guard is... Like, I'm okay with that, but you could use a little bit of an upgrade there. I don't think the Raptors really need to overpay for Fred. It's like from what he's been saying today, the quotes that came out, I think he's putting money over winning right now, it sounds like it.
Basically.
And if he really wanted another championship, I think there's no question he would come back to Toronto because I do think that we're still close, and I think him on the team, you know, he would be a big part of that. But I think financially and like looking ahead to the future, I know there's so much talk about Giannis, and if you sign Fred to a monster deal, like it decreases the chance of that happening as well.
Yeah, and for a guy like Van Vliet, who is undrafted, sort of bet on himself and everything, it's just such a nice full circle moment to sign like a max contract with a team. So I think it would be so tempting for him to just sign max out, right? Like, I came from nothing. I played 4 years at Wichita. I was undrafted, and now I'm signing a max contract, like F you, in your face sort of thing, you know? So it must be so tempting for him to kind of just be like, if other teams want to offer me a max contract, I'm going to have to take it. But it all depends on how much he wants to stay, right? Because Masai is going to offer him something, and then Van Vliet is sort of going to have that conflicting decision of, do I want to stay, take a little bit of a pay cut, or do I just want to max out? And that, none of us have any idea what he wants, but he's making it a little more clear today that he's really looking to get paid. So I'm not going to be super optimistic. However, that's sort of just the way it goes when you draft well and you develop well. That's sort of what happens.
Yeah.
Do you try to work a sign and trade with the New Orleans Pelicans for Justin Holiday?
Justin Holiday or Drew Holiday?
Drew Holiday. Why did I say Justin? Drew Holiday.
I mean,
would that even be an option?
So.
Is that a thing that you've heard?
I haven't heard it. I'm just sort of randomly theorizing.
I mean,
okay.
Yeah, if you could get him, if you could get something back for him, like, yeah, you do it. Even if you have to sign him first, like,
huge piece.
You got to do it.
Yes, I would definitely do that. However, I think every NBA team wants Drew Holiday on their roster. And I don't know if we would have the best deal, because I think other teams are willing to give up way more to get a Drew Holiday. Like, he's such a valuable piece for
I think Van Fleet is a lot, though.
That's automatically just come off the table because I didn't know how much he was paid. I thought he was paid like 20-ish. He's getting paid $26 million.
And so many teams are willing to do that. Like, they need a Drew Holiday. And obviously we would love a Drew Holiday, but it wouldn't really change our situation because we would still be spending a lot of money on a guard where we're trying to sort of keep the cap open.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, do you try to work a sign and trade then? Or do you just let him walk? And if you do a sign and trade, who do you try to make the trade with?
Yeah.
I think a sign and trade would kind of be cruel, though. Like, just from imagine Masai signs him and, like, Raptors fans get happy and stuff, and then they trade him, like, a couple days later. I don't think you could do that to Fred, to be honest.
A sign and trade would happen day of.
Yeah. But, like, obviously Masai has, like, bags full of tricks, and I think it would all depend on the discourse between Van Vliet and Masai. If Van Vliet sort of, like, wants to do Masai a favor and be like, yo, I'm gonna walk anyways, like, just trade me or something. But I have a hard time seeing that happen. I don't know. I don't know the insides well enough, but that could happen. I just don't really see it happening.
All right. And who do you sign as Toronto's new center? Do you try to keep Serge Ibaka, or do you go after somebody like a Christian Wood, or if he makes it to free agency, a Montrezl Harrell?
Yeah, I think a Montrez would work really well in Raptors system. I think he thrives in good defensive systems. An individual on-ball defender, I don't think he's that great, but he's a really good system defender, which is what Toronto is, like, brought up on. So I think Montrez would be huge. I think every team wants a Christian Wood right now because he's, like, just an undervalued piece, and every team would want him. I would love to keep Serge, but he does have a huge contract, and a lot of teams want him as well. So I don't know how realistic that would be. But if we can get, like, a Montrez for that, that would be really cool. What do you think, Aiden?
Could you theoretically work a sign and trade around Fred for Montrezl Harrell?
I just don't know how common sign and trades are in the NBA like that. I don't know if they're just thrown around like that. What do you think, Aiden?
I think, well, going back to the first one, I've heard a lot of rumors recently about Ibaka leaving Toronto. Talks about
he loves Toronto, though.
I know
he loves Toronto.
I know, and that's why it's so hard if he is to go, because he's a hard guy to replace. Like, not even for what he does on the court, but off the court as well, and the personality that he brings, and to help all the young guys in their development. He was a big part of their championship, so it would be tough to see him go. But at the same time, he is getting a bit older now, and his playing is going a bit downhill. Yeah, I'm with Emile a little bit. I don't know if the sign and trade will work with Van Fleet. I don't think that is something that he is even looking at. But yeah, we definitely need, if we were to get rid of him, definitely need an upgrade at point guard or a replacement. And then yeah, we got to look at another center. We can't just let Ibaka go and then not replace him.
I think a sign and trade makes sense because he wants to get paid. Like, he wants to get paid. And because Toronto still have his bird rates, I think they're potentially able to give him more money. Mm-hmm. And some sort of trade around that would work possibly. But what with Ibaka, I'm curious to see what would be the max number you'd pay him?
Not anything more than we were already paying him, because we were already paying him a lot.
We're paying him currently 23.2.
Yeah, so nothing higher than that, I think.
Yeah, definitely. He can't get a raise. I think he would get a raise if he does sign with the Lakers. But
I don't know about that, Adam.
No?
I heard that rumor earlier today as well.
I've seen people saying, like, try to get him for 6.
What?
On the Lakers. Yeah. Because who was it? I think it was Hoop Central tweeted something out where that's why he was trending on Twitter a couple days ago. Where their estimated evaluation for his contract was like $5 million.
That's bogus. That's so
exactly.
BS.
And they had like, who was it? Tristan Thompson, I think. Was it Tristan Thompson? Might have been the former Heat guy. I'm blanking on his name. But they were estimated to be making the most out of all the centers available. And like Jakob Poeltl was supposed to be making like 12. But,
wow.
Yeah, I don't know if the Lakers could afford it.
When it comes to Ibaka leaving Toronto, he's one of those situations where I won't believe it until I see it, just because I think he loves Toronto so much, and I think his relationship with Masai and the organization is so tight-knit. Like, in every little micro-aggression and micro-indication in every interview that I see with Ibaka, he loves Toronto. Like, he's defending Toronto. So he's one of those where I don't believe he'll leave until I see it. I think he'd be willing to take a pay cut to stay even.
I mean, if the rumors are true that he's going to get
the term of the deal.
Yeah, and I think it'll definitely be short term. But I think if the rumors of him wanting or getting $5 million a year, like, the Raptors have to do it. The Raptors would have to do that.
Yeah.
They'd have to pay a little bit more than that to make sure they get him. I would say maximum. I was thinking more in the teens, to be honest. But
if it's a short term,
yeah, maybe you go like 13 max for him.
I'd go up to 18 depending on the term.
Yeah.
It depends on the term.
I think the last couple of years, he's like in the playoffs, especially. He's just so critical in the system. So I don't think you can overpay him unless you're paying him more than what you're paying him right now.
It's such a tough situation because otherwise they need to sign another center, and their only other center option is Chris Boucher, and he's also a free agent.
Yeah, and he just gets bodied all the time. So I don't know if I'd want him as my starting center.
Yeah, as a backup, sure. His points, like his per minute averages, are just insane.
Well, yeah,
it's like a triple double.
Yeah,
it's nuts. Or no, at least a double double. He's like 20 points, 10 rebounds per minute, or per 36. But obviously, that likely won't continue.
Per 36 number is a little bit misleading when it comes to backup centers because they come on for like 7 minutes against like the B rotation and they'll eat. But yeah, he's good. It's just you can't rely on him to be like a playoff guy.
Yeah, it's such a tough situation, honestly. But you have to take off in 5 minutes. So what quick basketball story can we do before you take off? Let's finish with the Toronto Raptors. And I think this will be nice and quick. 2 questions. 1, actually, I won't ask you the draft one because we probably won't talk about the draft today. We'll talk about it next week. Because with how late Toronto's picking, you really don't know what's going to happen, especially in this draft class and how crap it is, or it appears to be.
What do you mean, LaMelo Ball?
Okay, he's a top 3 pick.
I've heard that this draft though is very good when it comes to later picks, so
it's
that
deep,
could be advantageous to the Raptors.
Yeah, and they're also a very good drafting team when you look
Yes.
at who they've taken.
Yeah.
So maybe there's room to be optimistic. But my final question for you before we do our hot takes very quickly, or your hot take, Aiden and I will do them in a little bit.
Which we haven't really told you about, so
No.
let's hope you got one.
Although, maybe we get it. What is your prediction for where the Toronto Raptors will play next season?
Oh, it seems like it changes every day. Like, I think Kansas City really wants it. If they have the facilities to hold it, I don't see why they wouldn't get it. But we're also hearing like every city on the map, so that's so hard to call. But I wouldn't mind Kansas City. I kind of like that.
Aiden?
I haven't read too much into it. Like, I don't really know the logistics behind it and how like realistic it could be playing in Nashville or New Jersey or Kansas City. I know Patrick Mahomes is really pushing for the Raptors to come to Kansas City and play there, so that would be cool. Yeah, I maybe somewhere closer to home would be good too. I don't know if that makes a difference.
Yeah, Jersey would be cool.
Yeah, exactly, New Jersey. I think Kansas City. I'll go with Emile's choice as well.
I'm going to go with New Jersey as my mic is muted. And I'm going with New Jersey because I believe it's like a bus ride away from every other team in their division.
Yeah,
True.
And I think that's going to be huge.
Yeah.
They're not going to go to Louisville, obviously. I think that's pretty self-explanatory why. I think it's most likely going to be New Jersey, but I think there's an outside chance it goes to Kansas City. However, we have no idea. But we'll wrap up our time with Emile with a segment that we call Hot Takes. So Emile, because we didn't explain this to you ahead of time because we always forget, basically each episode we give a hot take. So it can be something as out there as I predicted back in June the MLB would be the first league back, and that fell on its face. Or Aiden predicted 2 weeks,
Emile
and said in 2 weeks.
Emile just made some edits to the doc. He just made sure that we got the spelling good and stuff.
Oh, nice.
Good job, Emile.
Thanks.
I lost my train of thought. Right.
Hot take.
Aiden predicted Babcock would be fired in 2 weeks, and it actually happened. So basically, just give us a hot take, anything on any sport, and put it out into the universe so that when people look at your takes 10 years from now, they can come back to this and say, oh boy, he got that right, or damn, that was wrong.
Okay, I have two. I don't know how hot they are though, but this one isn't as hot, but OG Anunoby is a better on-wall defender than Patrick Beverley. Patrick Beverley was an all-defensive team this year and has been many times in the past. OG's never gotten any recognition. However, he's just insanely good and way better than Patrick Beverley. I think Patrick Beverley gets all the credit from the media because he's like all up in your face and he has all these antics. But like Russell Westbrook said, he'd just be yelling around and running around and y'all fall for it. So I think he's an overrated defender. And then my second hot take, I was gonna tweet this one day. It's still in my drafts, but I think it's a little too hot, so we'll see. But I think Kylian Mbappe is just as good as prime R9, like Ronaldo.
Whoa!
Yeah. And I was gonna tweet that and be like, if you reply, I'm just gonna reply with Mbappe go zoom zoom. So I think Mbappe is the best player I've ever seen utilize pace as well as him.
Jeez.
I think the way, like, obviously he needs to work a little bit on his finishing, but in terms of like technical and having the ball at your feet at like insane speeds, I think we look at prime Ronaldo a little too high because of the nostalgia effect and the highlight effect. Whereas we watch Kylian Mbappe week in, week out. He's won the World Cup. He's competing in Champions Leagues. And I just think at his best, he's just as good as Ronaldo.
That is a very, very hot take, and you need to tweet that out as promo for this episode.
Yeah, I would do that. Yeah. I mean, it's out there now anyways.
It is out there, so you might as well tweet it to the universe. But with that, we know you have to take off. So thank you for joining us.
Yes.
We genuinely really appreciate it. This has been a ton of fun. We will link all of your stuff down below. Whether or not your blog is included in that, we'll see. But we really appreciate it. It was really interesting hearing a perspective from somebody who has worked for Ryerson in an athletics position.
Yep.
But yeah, thank you so much. You are an amazing human being from the sounds of your humanitarian work, and we really appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate it. I had a lot of fun today, so I'll see you guys soon.
All right, sounds good, man. Take care.
Cheers.
All right, and we are down to the two of us following that, I think, very good episode so far.
That was a very good episode. You're right, yeah. Still going.
Emile is a very good person, clearly, and very nice guy. But let's dive into everything. Let's do it a bit quick fire because I have an assignment I need to get done for tomorrow that's worth 25% of my grade, and I've barely started.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that. Not quite 25%, but yeah, I got something else to do at 11:30, not 12 o'clock, not 11:59. He made it 11:30.
I am 12 noon.
12 noon tomorrow.
Yes.
It's a lot better than me.
Huh? Oh, wait, what? What time is your thing?
Mine is due tonight at 11:30.
Oh, I thought you were saying tomorrow night. I was like, what are you talking about?
Nope.
Okay, that makes more sense. Yeah, you should probably... How much have you done of that?
No, I'm like almost done it. I got to do like one more page to write, and then and that's it. It's an essay.
Okay. Okay. I have to make a song, and I've started making... I've made 2 of the sounds for the...
You have to make a song. Oh, that's cool.
Yes, electronic music, sound synthesis.
Nice.
If you're into music,
play it on the show next week.
No. If you're into sound synthesis, take that course at Ryerson. But I am not. So this has been an interesting course. But we will digress and finish talking about the NBA. We're not going to talk about the draft, as I mentioned, because that's next week. And we'll talk about it a bit more when we've heard about it. Instead, let's mention the fact that the NBA has a target start date. And by target, I mean confirmed. They are starting the draft is obviously on the 18th, which is exactly a week today.
Mm-hmm.
And on the 20th is the day free agency starts. So that's going to be a pretty hectic week next week in the basketball world. And they're starting up their season again on December 22nd. So we'll see whether or not they do Christmas Day games. I thought Christmas Day game would have been really fun to start on that date.
Yeah.
But I think there's some sort of salary stuff where in order to place, for the players to be able to play a certain amount of games and get a certain amount of their salary, they have to start it at a certain date. But they have a start date, and that's more than we can say for a lot of professional sports leagues, specifically the NHL. But yeah, just good to see them starting up and prepared to start. Do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, it's good that they're the first league, I guess, to come out with a starting date, and yeah, it's gonna sneak up. It's gonna sneak up on us really quickly.
First major league, because I believe the AHL and potentially
AHL, yeah,
like WHL, maybe OHL.
I think the juniors have started. Yep.
And the QMJHL is playing right now, but we'll dive into hockey probably after this. Finally, we'll wrap up with the Sterling Brown situation. So if you didn't know, Sterling Brown was assaulted and tasered and racially profiled, is the best way of putting it, by police in Milwaukee in 2017, I believe. And he was suing, or he filed a civil rights suit with the city of Milwaukee for the incident because he was beat, I believe, pretty badly. And it was all caught on video. And this week they agreed to a settlement. So basically what is happening is Milwaukee have agreed to a $750,000 payout to Sterling Brown. The city admits that his constitutional rights were violated, and they are committing to incorporate changes to the Milwaukee Police Department standard operating procedures within 100 days of the settlement agreement. That is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I think getting that last part in there, the changes to the Milwaukee PD, is really, really good because it's not just benefiting him, he's benefiting everybody. Is that a fair way of saying that?
Yep, that's good.
Yeah, so obviously good for Sterling Brown to finally settle that, get this really, really disappointing, unfortunate, difficult situation of his life out of just behind him, so he can put it behind him and continue to focus on basketball and the rest of his life. But final little basketball thing, the NBA announced their Social Justice Coalition Board, the governors, which are league owners, Mickey Arison, Steve Ballmer, Clay Bennett, Mark Lasry, and Vivek Randiv. The players on the board are Carmelo Anthony, Avery Bradley, Sterling Brown, Donovan Mitchell, and Karl Anthony Towns. Mm-hmm. And the coaches are Lloyd Pierce and Doc Rivers. Solid. Good to see the MLB. God, I'm off day. Right now. Yeah, good to see the NBA acting on their promises from when the Milwaukee Bucks protested their game back in the NBA bubble, and good to see them taking initiative and doing this. But do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, just reiterating what you said. I think it's a good step. I like the guys that are on it. And yeah, hopefully it makes a difference. And yeah, that's it.
All right, let's quickly do NHL because there is nothing to talk about.
Not really. No.
Mackenzie Weegar signed a 3-year, $3.25 per deal with the Florida Panthers, avoiding arbitration.
Yeah, I'm okay with that deal. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Can't really complain. Yeah, I guess we should mention maybe the Leafs were interested in him before. Mm-hmm. I would have liked the deal, 3.25, if the Leafs got him for that. And I'm sure the Panthers are really happy. He's a good defenseman. He's really good. Top 4 guy. To get him under $4 million is really good.
Yep. And Brendan Lemieux signed a 2-year, $1.55 per deal with the New York Rangers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's still pretty good. I'm not the biggest fan of Lemieux. He's a bottom 6 guy. Yeah, can't really complain. He's young, so I guess that's why I got, a little bit more. But yeah, that's pretty good.
Agreed. Well, that's the NHL talk for this week.
That's it. Shortest NHL talk maybe in the history of the show.
Yeah, not a lot's happened. I think there are some starting to be. I didn't have the chance to read 31 Thoughts because Elliot Friedman put a blog up yesterday, I believe, and I didn't have the chance to read it. So I will read that, and we'll see what is in there in terms of a potential start date. I think it was surrounding potentially aiming for January 1st.
Yeah, I think that's always been the start date, but who knows?
It's what they've been aiming for. This might be a little bit more concrete in terms of information. I'll have to read it. I haven't had the time because I had an assignment due Monday and Tuesday and Thursday. So This week has been very hectic. And the last 2 weeks, I don't know if you've looked at what you have due. Week 11, week 12. There's a lot.
For sport media? For
just in general. There's a lot.
For me, yeah, I guess so. Yeah. There's a decent amount. I think if I get through this week and next week, I think I'm okay.
I have nothing due next week. I don't know why.
Well, that's good. It gives you more time to work on the other stuff due in the next couple weeks.
exactly.
And
That's what I'm planning on doing.
When's your next production?
Good question. Either week 3 or week 4.
Okay.
I'm currently filling in as an AD for Julian Donato's show.
Okay, cool.
But that may change because I have 2 lead roles, and I believe people are still looking for lead roles.
Oh, okay, I see. So you're in a week 3 and a week 4 right now? Is that how it is? Okay, I see.
I'm A2 for week 4, so I don't have to do anything. I just have to show up on the day.
You're A2 for week 4?
Yeah.
But wouldn't that be 2 crew roles then?
No, it was a lead role yesterday.
Oh yeah. Is audio a lead role?
They made it a lead role.
Okay, I see. Okay, that's good then.
Yeah.
Got that out of the way.
So, yeah, it's a good thing. Getting that out of the way right away, even though it didn't go perfectly to plan. But again, it's week 1. You're trying to learn from it. Do you want to talk NFL or MLB?
Let's just go in order, I guess. We'll go with MLB. Alex Cora back with the Red Sox. Yeah, I kind of saw it coming. Like Cora, he was a part of that Astros team, but he did have a year in between where he was the manager for the Red Sox, won the World Series that year. So yeah, I could definitely see why the Red Sox would want to bring him back. The Tigers also hired AJ Hinch, so it seems like a couple of these guys are back working now. And yeah, I think it's going to be a great signing for the Red Sox. Like, they did phenomenal in 2017, I believe, when they won with him. They had a down year last year, but I think if they have a good offseason, and they might even sell this offseason, but I still think that they might be better next year just because they got Cora back.
Yeah, I don't know if him coming back is a good thing because...
No?
Well, it just reminds you of the Astros situation. He's always going to have cheater next to his name.
Yeah, but I don't think he was like the biggest part of it. So, and I think also that like bumper year in between kind of, like hides him from the situation a little bit compared to Hinch, who, and also like Hinch signed in Detroit. Like, he's not going to get too much attention there just because how bad Detroit is, and like it's Detroit. Like, they normally don't get the media coverage, so I think that's a safe spot for him. Cora, you're right. It might be a bit like he's gonna have a lot more eyes on him, being in the Boston market, but I think he's gonna be okay. It would definitely be a lot more controversial if the Red Sox signed Hinch as their manager.
Yeah, that would have been a very bad situation.
Yeah.
And they would not have been viewed very highly,
No.
to put it lightly. But, yeah, just interesting. Let's do Justin Turner, because I want to go off.
Yeah, go off. Yeah.
I'll let you go first, because
I mean,
I'll summarize what happened, and then I'll let you talk.
All right.
I'll try to get your energy levels up a little bit.
Okay.
But let's get your blood flowing, because these statements suck. I'm not going to read all of them.
No, please no.
They're like 4 pages long. 3 pages long. But basically, to sum it up, the Justin Turner is not having any sort of punishment given against him. Neither are the Dodgers, and the MLB saying it's a complete just miscommunication. What a just absolute crap show.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about this? Was this the right decision? How terrible of a decision was this?
What it says to me is that it's the MLB. The MLB messed this up. The MLB, it wasn't Turner's fault. It wasn't the Dodgers' fault. The MLB should have stepped in and told them something, but they did not. They let it play out. They let him play as long as he did, and they got caught. They got caught late in the game. In the 8th inning, they got caught. Doctors called whatever happened, and they took Turner out, and the media got a hold of it, and the MLB's trying to cover up now. But yeah, they can't punish Turner. They can't punish the Dodgers because it was their mistake. And I could be wrong. This is just my opinion, but I think it really was the MLB that messed up. You could also look at it like, yeah, Justin Turner probably shouldn't have come back onto the field. So in that sense, and if it really is Turner's fault, yeah, he definitely should get punished for doing that. I think the Dodgers are kind of safe. I don't think they really needed to be punished too much. But then again, we don't really know the context of what actually happened, and I don't think we will ever know it. So it is hard to say. But from what I'm reading, I think it's all the MLB's fault, and they're just trying to cover it up now.
I disagree.
You disagree? Oh, disagree with what? The MLB thing, or with everything? What's your theory? What's your theory?
I think everybody should have been punished.
Everybody. Okay, MLB, Turner, and the Dodgers.
Yeah, although the MLB won't punish themselves, because why would you do that? I think the Dodgers and Turner should have been punished because the guy went back onto the field with COVID. He knew he had COVID. It was confirmed.
Unless he didn't.
What if
he didn't.
He did. He tested twice positive. Tested positive twice.
But did he know that? Did
Yes, he did.
Okay.
We shouldn't have gone back out on the field. The MLB shouldn't have to put security in front of the door the room he's staying in so that he doesn't leave.
True.
We're in a global pandemic. Wake up, Turner.
Don't you just
200,000 people in the US alone have died.
Yeah, over that. Yeah. And also, like, we haven't heard how many more COVID cases came out of that too. Like, we haven't heard how many the Dodgers.
Well, I can guarantee you his girlfriend got it, or partner.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, we haven't heard any of that. I think MLB's just trying to hide as much as they can about the situation, and honestly, like, I think because it's the off season now, I think the talk will die down a little bit. And honestly, if you hadn't put it in the doc, I probably wouldn't have even remembered it. But I think once the season starts up again and you start watching games and you start, interviewing the Dodgers players, it's going to come back up. But it pains me, but I think the MLB is going to get away with it. I think they will. And it looks like Turner's going to get away with it, and the Dodgers are too.
They're all going to get away with it like they always do. If
I think Joe Biden has to step in. Joe Biden has to step in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's his priority right now. Is
Trump right
MLB.
now. He's technically still president.
Yeah, that. Oh, we're not going to get into politics.
No.
Is all I have to say. Maybe in a future episode, we'll see.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see if we decide we want to do that or not.
Yep.
But this Dodger situation, it just infuriates me. It's another situation of people just not being held accountable.
Yep, you're right. 100%.
Like, at what point do we draw the line and just say the MLB doesn't care?
They don't. They don't care at all.
It's so
they mishandled the Astros situation last year, and they mishandled the Dodgers one this year. And ironically, it's maybe the two biggest teams in baseball right now. So it should be, they need to be held accountable for it. But I think Rob Manfred is just going to get away with it. He's the worst commissioner in all of sports. I still don't know how he is employed. I'm surprised nobody else has stepped in to get him out. But yeah, the handling of these situations and also even just how this whole season happened, like playing 60 games and you weren't able to come to an agreement with the MLBPA, and it's just so unfortunate because it's so unfortunate for baseball fans. Like, baseball is one of my favorite sports. I love watching the MLB, but it just sucks that we have this commissioner. Like, it's a great league, great players. It's just disappointing.
At what point does Rob Manfred get fired?
I'm surprised he's still employed. I don't know what more he could do to get himself fired.
he's still employed because these decisions benefit the owners.
Yeah, I don't know, and like it's not like he's an older guy too. He's a younger guy. It's not like he's gonna retire or anything like that.
Not Gary Bettman age, where he's potentially after the TV deal gonna just take off.
Yeah. So like,
it's so frustrating because you're just watching baseball die before your eyes, and you can't do anything about it, and it's crap management that's responsible for it.
Yeah.
For being quite honest. Like, what positive PR has the MLB had in the past 2 years?
I don't know. Like, and even like they didn't really do much for Black Lives Matter as well. Nope. I know they did something on opening day, but like that's nothing. Like the MLB, even the NHL did more than baseball did.
There were some games that got postponed. Not all of them. Some.
Due to Black Lives Matter?
Due to the protest.
Right. But most of them got postponed due to COVID. And we can also talk about that, like the Miami Marlins situation and how, and the Philadelphia Phillies. Like the MLB knew, the Marlins knew, and the Phillies knew that there were guys on their teams that tested for COVID, and they still let them play the game. What? There's so much bad publicity with the MLB right now.
And then last night, the story broke from just Jeff Passan. The Chicago Whites manager, Tony La Russa, was arrested on suspicion of driving under the influence in February, the day before the team hired him. And he still got hired. Come on, wake up, MLB.
Jeez.
Like, seriously.
Oh, wow, I didn't even know that. That's crazy.
Broke last night, or 2 days ago. He broke Monday night. Was his second DUI charge. This isn't even the first time he's done it. He pleaded guilty in 2007. He fell asleep at the wheel at the traffic light in Florida.
I mean, that's on the White Sox. That's mostly the White Sox, I would say.
But the MLB let them do it. The league at some point has to step in and say, no, this is not happening.
But did this just come out, like this news? Did they... I get... whatever at this point. I don't want to defend the MLB.
Here's the best part. The White Sox knew.
Okay, yeah. Then there you go. There you go.
The White Sox knew this happened, and they still did it.
Like, what's up with... I know. Well, dude, it's like Mitchell Miller as well. Like, the Coyotes knew, and they still did it. It doesn't... Sports is just messed up right now.
It's so frustrating. Like, how they thought that was okay to do. Like, yeah, well, we're fine. He got a DUI last night. So what? A, that issue. B, you played games in the middle of a pandemic with fans in the stands, with players being positive for the virus. And then you don't punish the guy who, on the final day in the World Series, the night his team wins it, after testing positive, he plays the game, they pull him, and then he ends up back on the field.
Yeah.
Come on. Wake up. Like.
Yeah, I don't know. I gotta read the statement again. I gotta listen to what other people are saying. I gotta listen to some MLB Network, see if they got their opinions on it. Because I need some reasoning. I need some good reasoning as to why this happened, and why it's continuing to happen. There needs to be an end.
Yep, you have got that right. But apparently, there doesn't need to be an end to Robbie Ray's tenure with the Toronto Blue Jays after he signed a 1-year, $8 million deal like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on it?
I don't mind it. I was talking to Tyler about it, and he was saying that it's a bit of an overpayment. Like, they probably could have got someone better for a cheaper price. And yeah, I do agree with that. Like, $8 million is a little bit pricey for Ray. Like, he was just strictly a rental player. They got him, and he wasn't that good when he played his few games with the Jays. But in terms of like just him coming back and signing a pitcher, I think that's what we need. We definitely need to increase our pitching depth. But I would have liked to see them go out and get, maybe 2 guys, maybe 3 guys for a total of $8 million than 1 year, $8 million for Robbie Ray, who was, mediocre at best with the Jays.
I guess the one positive is it's not going to kill your salary situation.
No.
It wasn't terrible. He's a veteran. You know who he is. You're experienced with him.
True.
And I highly doubt this is their last move.
No, definitely
Sounds
not.
more and more
definitely.
like they're going to be very involved in the free agent.
There is big moves coming. I know there's talks with Trevor Bauer. There's that whole Francisco Lindor thing. They're one of the 5 teams, according to, I think, MLB Network, that are talking to Cleveland about a trade. And I think the Jays have the assets to do it. I think if they do that, like, that's going to signify that we're back in contention. If we get Francisco Lindor and we don't have to give up a guy who is currently on our roster, like, we're contending for the World Series, I think.
If they get Lindor, what happens to Bichette?
Exactly. What happens to him? He probably goes to second base. I don't see why Francisco Lindor would like. I'm sure the Jays would. I don't think Lindor would want to play second base. Like, he is one of the best shortstops in baseball right now. Bichette is still young. He still has some defensive hiccups, and he's still learning. I think Lindor is the perfect guy that he can learn from. But yeah, as of right now, and if the Jays were to get Lindor, Bichette goes to second, and Lindor plays short. What happens with Biggio then? He goes to the outfield. What happens to Gurriel or
Randall Grichuk?
Exactly, Randall Grichuk. I think he's gone. I think they trade him. There's also talks about them getting George Springer or Jackie Bradley Jr. Like, imagine that. Like, this could be like a 2015 offseason, and we go after, that Jose Reyes, Miguel Cabrera, R.A. Dickey situation, and we go out and get Bauer, Lindor, and Jackie Bradley Jr.
Let's not include R.A. Dickey on that list, please, because
it didn't work out. You're right. But I mean, there's no way we'll get Bauer, Lindor, and Jackie Bradley Jr. That would be crazy though. But that'd be a major flip of our roster. I'm trying to think who I would prefer out of those 3, and I think I would have to say Lindor. It's definitely between Lindor or Trevor Bauer, but just because of Bauer's personality and the history that he's had with the Jays, with Cleveland, and I know Lindor's had that history too, but Bauer, I dislike Bauer a lot more, and I think Lindor is the best player out of those 3. He's also, like, he's not very old. I think he's 26 years old still. He is going to be. I would get a Lindor jersey day one if he comes to Toronto.
What does it cost to bring Lindor to the Jays?
Oh, a lot. That's the problem. It's a lot. I don't think they're gonna move from Austin Martin at all. I think Jordan Grosjean's name will definitely be in there. I think Simeon Woods Richardson is also a prospect pitcher that might have to go back the other way. And those are, 2 of our top 5 prospects. So that is a lot to give up. And, hopefully it doesn't take that. Hopefully we can get him for a bit cheaper. But I'm comfortable moving on from Groshans. And he would be the third baseman of the future. But if you get Lindor, then he goes to shortstop, and then your whole infield kind of changes around. You could even move Bichette to third base. You could move Biggio to third base, so you don't really need Groshans in the future then.
You also
So
got Vlad to play third base,
no, I
who's
don't.
already cutting weight.
That is that. You know what? That is true. But I think the Jays have kind of settled on him being the first baseman. You also have Travis Shaw, right? Did they have?
Mm-hmm.
Is he a free agent? He might be a free agent.
I can't remember. I wonder, what does Cleveland's outfield look like? Could you potentially have a Randall Grichuk involved in that deal
That's actually a good question.
to lower the prospect cost a little bit?
Let me take a look. I think Cleveland has like an okay outfield. Let me just pull up the names. Tyler Naquin is there actually? You know what? They could use a center fielder. They have some depth. Like they have Tyler Naquin, they have Bradley Zimmer, then they have the Canadian Josh Naylor, Jake Bowers as well, Delino DeShields, who we know well from the Texas series. So there's about 4 or 5 guys there, but I think if Grichuk came in, he would be maybe the best one, maybe the best outfielder. But then again, I'm not sure what the Indians are trying to do. Like if they trade away Lindor, I'm not sure if they would want a guy like Grichuk, who is in the prime of his career, to come in and help a team that looks like they're trending towards a rebuild. I think they would prefer prospects. I don't think they would just want Grichuk just to increase value. I think they would definitely want a Groshans or a Woods Richardson in return.
I wonder if the Jays could use Grichuk, though, as a bit of a, hey, we'll throw him in, and maybe the prospect goes from our 5th best prospect to our 8th best prospect.
Yeah, I could see that too. And I mean, you know my thoughts on Grichuk. Like I'm okay with getting rid of him.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm all for that. If I would definitely rather keep Woods Richardson, because I do think he's gonna be, a top 3 starter in our rotation at some point in his career. And then we would have a great rotation with him and Pearson and Ryu for the next couple of years until Ryu gets older and starts declining a little bit. But I think the future is really bright, and the one thing with management right now is they're not afraid to spend money. They've been vocal about that. They are ready to win. They're ready to compete in the AL East, and I think there will be a big move coming. I would say one of Lindor, Bauer, or Jackie Bradley Jr. will be a J by next season.
You don't think George Springer?
I don't like Springer, mostly because he's an Astro. I think
Sure.
Jackie Bradley hits more for an average. Springer's more of that big bat. And also, I think Bradley is the clear center fielder. Springer can play center, he can play the corner, but Jackie Bradley is one of the best offensive outfielders in the game. He's also faster. Oh, George Springer something just broke. George Springer rejected his qualifying offer from Houston, so he will become a free agent. Stroman accepted his offer. Kevin Gausman accepted his offer. Trevor Bauer rejected. LeMahieu rejected as well. Another good infielder for the Yankees. Maybe if the Jays miss out on Lindor, they look at LeMahieu.
It's going to be an interesting offseason. So you think pretty much guaranteed Randall Grichuk isn't a Toronto Blue Jay next season?
No, I wouldn't say that. No.
Really?
No, I wouldn't say that.
Why?
Well, it depends. It depends who we get. If we get Jackie Bradley Jr., yes, Grichuk is gone. If we get Lindor, there is a good chance Grichuk still leaves, but I'm not 100% certain, because what do they do with Biggio? It really depends on that. Do you want to move him to the outfield, or do you want to keep him in the infield? If you keep him in the infield and put him at third base, then there's not really the need to move your starting center fielder. But if you move Biggio to the outfield and you try to transition him to center field or Gurriel to center field, then there is an opportunity to move on from Randall. And if they do move on from Randall, you got to get after a pitcher too, I think. A starting pitcher. would be ideal, I think. But if they just get Trevor Bauer, like I don't really see them moving on from Grichuk, even though I really want them to, and his value is high as well. He just came off a pretty good year. It depends. It really depends on what they do around that situation.
It's going to be a very interesting offseason for the Blue Jays, and we'll be following it pretty closely in our last, I guess, 3 episodes on Spirit Live.
Do we only have 3 more?
Well, we only have 3 more left in the semester. So
it feels like we just started. It's crazy.
I know. Well, we kind of did. Well, about a month.
Did we start late?
Started early October.
How many episodes have we done on Spirit Live? 3. Wasn't this our 3rd one?
No, we've done more than that.
We did
because one of ours got canceled.
Oh, the first week we didn't have a guest.
Yeah.
And then we had Luke, and then the 3rd week we got canceled. Yeah. Right? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh no, wait. Luke's week was canceled. So
we didn't have a guest first week. We did Luke, Hunter, and then
Emile, so that's 3. We've only done 3, 4.
We've done 4. Today's our 4.
No, but the Luke one wasn't on Spirit Live.
But we are still getting the hours for it.
True, we still get the... Okay, yeah, true. Okay. So
because that's sort of out of our control.
Right.
But...
Yeah.
Let's sort of... Sorry?
Yeah, it's coming to an end.
Yeah. We'll have to put in for next semester. Hopefully we get it again.
Yeah.
But let's wrap up our sports talk before we do our hot takes, because I need to work on this assignment. With the NFL... I'm going to let you just take this completely.
Sure. Ben Roethlisberger placed on the COVID list. Pittsburgh Steelers are looking really good this year. 8-0, only undefeated team remaining. I don't think, it's COVID, right? We all know what's up with that. He could test negative in the next to play. Just thought I'd throw that in there. McCaffrey, this is a big loss for the Carolina Panthers. If he is out long term again, he's been out the entire season with an injury. He just came back last week, had a great game. Fantasy owners really excited that he would be back. He ran the ball extremely well, but in the final drive of the game, kind of looked like he hurt his shoulder a bit. So he is currently day-to-day, and I think I saw a report earlier this morning saying that he's out for this weekend. So that is a tough loss for McCaffrey. He's had a really tough season dealing with the injuries.
I'm going to interject here very quickly. He's getting a second opinion on that shoulder injury as well.
Oh my God. Okay. That's never good. So
no.
Yeah, that's not good. I think, if it's something bad, chances are he's going to be shut down for the year. Panthers aren't really going to be contending for a Super Bowl this year, so they can afford it. I think McCaffrey's health comes first, obviously. He's one of the best in the game. He's a younger guy. You got to make sure he's healthy. And then also, I just wanted to throw in that everybody's talking about how Cam Newton was so good on Monday night against the Jets and his game-winning drive. And yeah, I watched it. It was a good drive, cool. But then again, Matthew Stafford could do that. Other guys in the league could definitely do that against a team as bad as the New York Jets. And I think it's pretty crazy how not really many people are saying that it's an embarrassing win for the Pats. It's a great win because Cam Newton is back. It's Cam time. It's super Cam time. But in my eyes, it is just a very ugly win for the Patriots. They just won by 3 points or something like that. 3 points. It was tied, and then they got a field goal to win it with no time remaining. And the Jets are 0-8. They're not good. They're awful. And you just beat them by...
Probably finish 0-12.
They were leading for most of the game. So, yeah, I don't know. I just want to say that it's pretty embarrassing. Sorry, they're 0-9. 0-9.
They're probably going to finish 17 this year?
Is it? I think it's 16.
16? 16 or 17. They're not going to win a game, probably. That's probably the best way to put it. But that is pretty much all of the sports news
Yes.
from this past week. Apart from the NHL stuff, I didn't have time to read because school. But hopefully, we'll talk about that next week. We'll figure out who our guest for next week will be. But yeah, thank you for listening. We will be back.
Are we doing the hot
week.
takes or no?
Oh yeah, I forgot about hot takes.
Oh boy,
it's been a long one. It's been a long week, folks. It's been a long week.
Yeah. I don't even know if I have one. Like it's hard to come up with new hot takes. Like we can come up with like a take, but like a hot take is different.
Oh yeah, coming up with a take is easy. It's a hot one that's difficult.
Exactly, and like having to come up with different ones every week. We've been doing this for a long time too. We haven't really taken a break. So
this is episode 22 since quarantine.
Yeah, but then we did Spirit Live for before
22 weeks in quarantine. We did, let's see, I can actually count all these. 22 weeks in quarantine. The regular episodes, we did 16.
Jeez.
So that's not even counting the SS Live.
Yeah, we've done a ton.
We've done
ever since the start of last school year. It kind of hasn't really stopped.
Yeah, which I love it.
Yeah,
I don't want.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun doing that. It's once it starts feeling like work, it doesn't get as fun. But I haven't felt that yet.
Yeah, I love doing the research for this as well. I find this a ton of fun, and I'm always thinking about the show. Nonstop, thinking about different stories, different things we can talk about, different ideas, and figuring out for each of our guests what they are good at talking about, like the sports they know, because we'll have guests on who know nothing about hockey, but like Emile today, a bunch about MLS and Toronto FC, or we'll have somebody like Seth a couple weeks ago who knows nothing about hockey and a ton of stuff about basketball.
Yep.
So it's fun making the show notes for these episodes and really hitting everything that we want to talk about and hearing about these people's stories and what their lives have been like and what their lives have been leading up until this point. And seeing everything that they've created, because these are our classmates. These are our co-workers, hopefully.
Yeah.
So getting to know them and letting everybody else and letting the world know about them, because their stories are important, is enjoyable, and I really like it. And hopefully I can do this for a job one day. We'll see, though.
That's the plan.
Yeah, that is the plan. We're the next Tim and Sid, maybe. But do you have a hot take?
Oh, God. Not
I still want that for you to think about.
Yes, I know. And I knew you were doing that on purpose, too. And I've been scrolling through my Instagram feed, my score feed, to try and get some ideas. Oh boy. Okay.
Actually, now's a good time to bring this up while you're thinking. If you want to come on the show, or if you have somebody you want to see on the show, reach out to us. Tell us. Because we plan for these episodes and we plan for guests. Like, we don't know who we're having on next week. Yeah. And if you have somebody in sport media in our ear that you really want to see on, let us know. And we'll potentially, depending on who it is and depending on their schedule, make it happen. There are obviously no guarantees, but we want to have some fun. If you have people outside of the program that you want to get on, I'm sure at one point I'll bring on the two guys from the other podcast that I do, if we continue this for long enough. Or we'll have people from other years, like I've mentioned it before, Ben Steiner. Maybe we'll have him on, or we'll have Hanya, who
Emile was talking about today.
Or even Ailish Forfar, who's a fourth year or just graduated sport media student. Like, the world is endless. Our possibilities are endless. I could even try to get Rachel Dory or Mike Smith or Ian Tulloch on the podcast.
Steve Dangle.
Steve Dangle. We got to wait for his next book. Once his child is not sleeping 3 hours a night and he actually has time. But maybe eventually, hopefully. Right now, we're just trying to use the connections that we have, and we're trying to tell our friends' stories, because we think that they're really important. We think that people should hear them. And honestly, that's really what it comes down to. We're having fun making connections while we do it. So I will never complain about being able to do this, even if it might be time consuming or cause me to stay up until 3 a.m, 4 a.m, editing an essay, which happened a couple weeks ago because I left that to the last minute and I literally was up till 4 a.m. editing the
Luckily, mine, I won't be up till 3 a.m. because mine is due at 11:30.
True. I'll be up till 3 a.m. either way because and I wake up at 11 or 12. But that's
all right. Jeez, I better have a hot take prepared now.
I was gonna say, do you have a hot take yet? Because
sure. All right. Austin Matthews released a video that he's going to be shaving his mustache if he raises $134,000 on his Movember page. He is currently at $11,893. It's not very good. He's making up ground very slowly. I guess my hot take is that he will raise over $200,000 for Movember.
All right. I think that video got released like yesterday.
Yesterday. Right? Yep.
He's done 11K a day.
Sorry? Yeah, 11,893 in a day. Isn't that how much Mitch Marner makes? Oh no, it's not. He makes 10,893.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you meant like $11,000. I was like, no, he makes a lot more than that.
Oh, yeah. But I mean the 9.3 part.
In it.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Whatever. What is my hot take? You see, I spent so much time stalling that I need to. I think a little quick. You know what? We're gonna make this soccer related.
Yeah.
Because Emile, soccer, his Kylian Mbappe take. You have no idea how hot that was.
Right.
Comparing Mbappe to one of the best strikers.
Yeah, I kind of sensed it. Yeah.
So my hot take. Let's make it Brendan Aronson related.
That's a player in the MLS?
Yes.
Okay.
He's a player who is just sold to RB Salzburg.
Okay.
He is, I believe, 18, maybe 20. And my prediction is he will be on a big
league episode.
I'm debating how big I want to make the team list. I think he'll be on a big 10 soccer team in 2 years.
Like top 10 soccer team in the world?
Yes.
All right. You want to say a specific team? Just in case this happens to be right.
I need to think about who needs an attacking midfielder. And potentially
scouting.
Yeah, who's got an old attacking midfielder? Bayern Munich.
Bayern Munich. Wow, along with Alphonso Davies.
Replacing Thomas Muller.
All right, that's a good one.
That's an incredibly hot take and will not happen. But it's called hot takes for a reason.
That's right.
I've been wrong before, and I will continue to be wrong. But with that, for the second time, because I forgot about the hot takes in the first time.
For the fourth time, basically. We've said goodbye on Spirit Live. We've said goodbye to Emile. You've tried to say goodbye, but you forgot about the hot takes, and this is the fourth time.
All right.
So now it's the fifth time.
Fifth time's the charm. Fifth time. Thank you for listening. We will be back next week at 3 o'clock to 3:10, somewhere in between there, on Spirit Live. We'll be on Spirit Live until 4 o'clock. Then we'll continue on this YouTube channel on Wednesday. And yeah. Thank you for listening. Aiden, what's your Instagram and Twitter? Because I'm going to make you use the Twitter eventually. And TikTok.
It's at Aiden Silliphant. I think TikTok is at Aiden Silliphant as well. Yeah, follow me.
All right. Check out me. Check out me. Check out my stuff on Twitter at CWGSOMERVILLE. Check out my Instagram at Connor_Somerville. I only accept people who I know. And check out the MLS Multiplex podcast. We're going to have an episode out hopefully tomorrow night, if not tomorrow night, Friday. And I can now officially say this.
Staffing ground.
Kyle Watson.
Oh, what?
If you remember this. Kyle Watson.
Yeah.
Remember how we suggested should do a prospect
podcast? Yep.
He, Patrick Talon, and Rain Hernandez, all three people who have been on this podcast, have recorded an episode.
Uh-huh.
I'm audio producing it, and it will be out by this weekend.
Wow. That's exciting.
Check out In the System. I will tweet it out. Built out of this podcast.
That's crazy.
We're helping create ideas for the people. And they will be having some really, really good guests.
Awesome.
I'm not going to say any names, but they have at least one really good guest lined up. And if you're into hockey and you're into prospects, you're going to want to pay attention to this podcast because these guys know their stuff. And I'm excited. And check out the Staff and Graph podcast because they're releasing content again, and I'm continuing to edit that, and we want viewers or downloads, but whatever. We'll see you next week. Have a good week. Try to keep your head above water. I know it's tough right now, and thank you to our veterans. Peace.